Chapter 23-26. The 3 religions and 9 schools, dragons and snakes dancing together. Lin Ling could sense that although these people seemed to be united on the surface, they all had their own thoughts. In a critical moment, they would still look out for themselves. Only Shi Wenbo was an exception. Lin Ling, right? The Lord orders you to move forward. As everyone was talking, a black-robed man suddenly appeared in the skies. He looked down at the crowd below and indifferently said. Seeing this, many people's complexions changed, envy in the depths of their eyes. They had been here for a long time already, but none of them had the chance to see these powerhouses. To be able to see these powerhouses was undoubtedly a great blessing. After all, if they couldn't see them, that meant they were useless and could only be cannon fodder at any time. Lin Ling, go. You will cross this crisis. Only Shi Wenbo was happy for Lin Ling, thank you. Lin Ling politely smiled. In truth, he was different from these people. He didn't worry about his own safety at all. In fact, he wanted to borrow these powerhouses to enter the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Then, Lin Ling followed that person and soon arrived at a ruin. There were dilapidated city walls here and powerhouses were all around, each one of them at the World King realm. Moreover, there were several terrifying auras floating all around. Those sitting in these ruins are at least at the late World King realm. Moreover, there are several true Divinity realm powerhouses hiding here. Lin Ling was startled. His soul force was powerful, thus he was able to sense the strength of the powerhouses around him. This meant that the number of powerhouses gathered for this plan had surpassed his imagination. Brother Sandthorn, that is Lin Ling. My commandery city square was destroyed by him. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded out. Beneath a ruin, Luo Yingyang pointed at Lin Ling. Beside him was a youth sitting cross-legged. Blood sand floated around this youth, occasionally forming ghost heads and demon fangs. This appearance was enough to make one's heart tremble. Although this youth wasn't too old, his aura was terrifying. He had likely reached the late World King realm. At the same time, gazes were also focused on them from several other directions. The strength of these people who were seated in various places was also unfathomable. As for the young man named Xiaofan, he finally opened his eyes. His eyes were blood red, and mysterious runes floated out from them. He said indifferently, "Get over here." The hidden expert's eyes flashed. Luo Xiaofan from the only commandery, one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, actually attacked a weak junior? At the same time, the sand formed a blood-colored rune that floated out majestically and enveloped Lin Ling. Seeing this, Lin Ling sneered inwardly. He knew that Lin Ling was suppressing him with his innate talent. On the surface, Lin Ling's talent wasn't strong, but his 10,000 mammoths' magic eyes wasn't weak at all. Who do you think you are? Lin Ling replied indifferently, unmoving like a mountain. Sandthorn's pupils flashed with surprise. For the first time, he frowned and looked at Lin Ling as if he wanted to see through Lin Ling. How bold of you! Brother Sandthorn told you to get over here, so you should get over here. From the side, Luo Yaosher angrily shouted. Then, he looked at Sandthorn with flattery. Brother Sandthorn, this boy comes from the martial god camp. He doesn't know how strong you are or that you are one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. He is simply courting death. Before, when the blue-clothed old man was here, he couldn't do anything to Lin Ling. But now, with Luo Xiaofan here, what did he have to fear? Pang! And as soon as his voice fell, Lin Ling also moved. He stepped on the ground and shot towards Luo Yaosher. In midair, the sword on his back was drawn. Combined with his godly demon body, he ruthlessly slashed down. You're courting death. Although Lin Ling's attack was fast, there were countless powerhouses in the ancient ruins. Naturally, they were able to sense Lin Ling's movements. They didn't think that Lin Ling would be so bold. In fact, even Luo Xiaoci was surprised. But, he didn't attack. First, Lin Ling was only at the first level of the World King realm. He might not be able to kill Luo Yaoshi. Second, he didn't believe that Lin Ling would dare to kill him. In his heart, Lin Ling was nothing more than a slave that had been captured, nothing more than cannon fodder. Who gave him the courage to be so arrogant? And at this time, Luo Yaoshi also reacted. His pupils fiercely shook. He didn't think that Lin Ling would attack. Because of this, he had been too careless. As for Lin Ling's strength, he was sure that in a one-on-one battle, he absolutely couldn't stop Lin Ling. You dare! Luo Yaoshi roared. The sword in the sky simply and crudely answered his question. Dare or not? Heart flute sword form. The power of vibration appeared. Shwa! In a moment of desperation, Luo Yaoshi erupted with a terrifying sandstorm. But, it was cut apart by the sword. Moreover, a massive strength surged from the sword. Bang! Luo Yaoshi's body shook. From above his head, he was cut in half by a sword. In truth, if he had been careful in dealing with Lin Ling, then Lin Ling might not have been able to kill him so easily. But, he had clearly underestimated Lin Ling's courage. You! He pointed at Lin Ling. With so many powerhouses here, Lin Ling still dared to attack. I already said that you will die. Lin Ling slowly put away his sword and calmly stood there. He knew that Luo Yaoshi wouldn't let him go, so he had to strike first. Put on. As Luo Yaoshi heard the final words of his life, he finally fell to the ground. Even in death, he never imagined that with the blue-clothed old man here, he wouldn't die. But with Luo Xiaoci here, he would die even faster. Lin Ling didn't place Luo Xiaoci in his eyes at all. Dead, Luo Yaoshi is dead. In the distance, Tai Tianyi's eyes narrowed. With Luo Yaoshi dead, he would be next. He couldn't help but feel terrified. At that moment, 2 meters away from Lin Ling, Luo Xiaoci was still sitting cross-legged. However, a terrifying murderous aura emanated from his body. That was because Luo Yaoshi had died right next to him. It was a great humiliation to him. Could it be that his reputation as one of the 9 heavens of Qingzhou couldn't intimidate a piece of trash? Rumble. Sand drifted out. It was extremely beautiful, as if it was a dance of sand. However, there was a murderous aura in the sand. Luo Xiaoci attacked. He was going to kill Lin Ling. In fact, he didn't even bother to say another word. He only wanted to kill this ant who overestimated himself. That's enough. However, at that moment, a calm voice suddenly sounded. It was like a spring breeze that blew away all the sand. An old man appeared beside Lin Ling. It was the blue-clothed old man. He said calmly, I brought this person back, so you can't kill him yet. He killed my men. I won't show you any respect. However, Luo Xiaoci still sat on the ground and muttered to himself. There was a huge age gap between him and the blue-clothed old man. Moreover, the blue-clothed old man had a high status in this plan. However, he still dared to not show him any respect. This showed how powerful he was. Indeed, you don't have to show me any respect. However, don't forget that this plan wasn't decided by the 2 of us. The blue-clothed old man's eyes flickered, but he still said calmly. His words made Luo Xiaoci's eyes turn cold, but he also fell silent. This guy is crazy. He killed our men before the heavenly palace even opened. In my opinion, we should kill him. At this moment, a young man in a golden robe in the distance said indifferently. He had a pair of golden sword wings behind his back. These wings were formed from numerous swords, making him seem like the chosen one of the heavens. This was another extremely extraordinary existence. Chapter 23-27. The three great leaders. He wasn't too old, but his authority wasn't small at all. This proved that his strength was terrifying. Of course, to be able to become one of the 9 heavens of Blue Province, his reputation wasn't undeserved. Let's see what Senior Fu has to say. But at this time, a person wearing a blue cloak slowly walked over. The cloak completely covered him, making it impossible for others to see his appearance. His hands were placed on the pockets of the cloak, and he walked over while holding the pockets. His style was extremely unique. This person was strong, unfathomably deep. The eyes of the powerhouses in the ruins flashed. This was Void. No one knew where he came from, they only knew that he was involved in this plan. But, he was actually speaking up for that youth? This was strange. After all, the Void they knew was cold and emotionless, someone who didn't care about anything. This is because his familiarity with the 8 Divinity Heavenly Palace surpasses that of the other guides. The blue-clothed old man slowly said. He knew that if he didn't speak of Lin Ling's use, he feared that Lin Ling would be killed by everyone. Are you sure? Yes. A voice suddenly floated up. Of course. Yes. The blue-clothed old man nodded. In truth, he wasn't too sure. As for Lin Ling, he stood beside him, his expression calm from beginning to end. It was like the one he had killed wasn't Luo Yezhuang, but a dog. In truth, he already knew that the blue-clothed old man would help him. And now, he was sure that he had finally arrived at the core of this plan. There were indeed many powerhouses here. However, this was even better. It would be beneficial for him to enter the 8 Divinity Heavenly Palace. I think that this junior is quite arrogant. When others see us, which one of them isn't respectful and fearful? But he looks at us as if we are peers. Huh, a first-level World King Realm brat is actually so confident. Yes. Another voice sounded out. It was an old man with a face full of wrinkles. His back was hunched and a massive number of needles were inserted into it. He was like a hedgehog, giving off a frightening feeling. Then, the old man stared at Lin Ling and said, I don't like juniors who don't know the rules. Here, only those like us can speak. As a guide, you don't have the right to speak. I hope you don't fall into my hands. Otherwise, I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. He had no enmity with Lin Ling, but he just didn't like Lin Ling because Lin Ling dared to kill in front of them. He was too arrogant. That's old monster Lone Mountain from the Green Toad realm. He has been cultivating in the martial god realm for many years. Once, in a fit of anger, he turned an entire realm into a poison realm. At that moment, the green-robed old man secretly reminded Lin Ling. The people here were from all walks of life, dragons and snakes dancing together. Lin Ling smiled. He thought it was some kind of amazing existence, but it turned out that it was just a loose cultivator. When he, Li Xiaoyao, rose like a comet, any loose cultivator who saw him would take a detour. The same goes for you. Don't fall into my hands. Otherwise, you won't be able to rest in peace even if you die. Lin Ling didn't back down. Huh. The crowd fell silent. They never thought that the junior would dare to talk back when old monster Lone Mountain threatened him. Such a matter simply exceeded their imaginations. This guy. Even the green-robed old man was shocked. He had warned Lin Ling to be more careful. Who knew that Lin Ling would counterattack directly? He, the little guy from the martial god battalion is not bad. However, be careful of being too arrogant and losing your life at any time. Another person was discontent, releasing a cold laugh. Lin Ling looked over, discovering that the one who spoke was Sea Burial Chieftain King. Moreover, the other party recognized his origins. Lin Ling sneered and didn't want to waste his breath. However, it seemed like there were many voices against Lin Ling. The martial god battalion works for the Great Azure Divine Dynasty in the name of justice. However, they have offended many people. Many people in the martial god battalion want to kill them. A charming voice was heard. On top of an ancient city wall, a woman in a cheongsam was sitting there lazily with her long legs crossed. Her fair and slender legs were extremely attractive. She was like a queen. Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. That was because he knew her. Queen Qianji. In the past, when Lin Ling was about to join the martial god battalion, he participated in a scout mission to destroy a county in the prairie. That was when he met Queen Qianji. He was almost kidnapped by Queen Qianji. Most importantly, Queen Qianji seemed to be very familiar with his origin. In fact, Lin Ling wasn't the only one who was surprised. Even Queen Qianji was surprised to see Lin Ling here. She was curious about Lin Ling. She wasn't sure if Lin Ling was Li Xiaoyao, but she had her suspicions. Since so many people want to kill him, then let's kill him. He's just an ant. I don't like it. Another old monster said. Who said I want to kill him? I just want to capture him and make him my male slave. To everyone's surprise, Queen Qianji spoke up for Lin Ling. Her every move was filled with the domineering aura of a formidable person, which silenced the old monster who spoke. They had all heard of Queen Qianji's domineering aura. Of course, there were also those who weren't afraid of her. Just as they were about to speak up, darkness descended from the sky. The darkness came without any warning. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they became cautious. Almost at the same time, the darkness condensed into a figure. It was a black figure, as if it was a shadow. No matter what grudges or conflicts there are, I hope that we can settle them after the 8 gods' heavenly palace ends. Whoever dares to make a move now will die. The shadow spoke. As you wish. All the experts replied in unison. That shadow was in the true god realm, and he was one of the strongest experts in this plan. And his origin was also very frightening. He was the triple kill expert of the Flying Dragon Organization, Yi. This person is from the Flying Dragon Organization and has a record of 3 kills. The so-called 3 kills are from the assassination missions issued by the Flying Dragon Organization. He completed 3 difficult missions and obtained the title from that. The old man in green secretly transmitted his voice to Lin Ling. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. He had heard of the Flying Dragon Organization before. During the Battle of the Divine List in the Martial God Battalion, it was said that the commander of the Army King was from the Flying Dragon Organization. This Assassins' Alliance was spread all over the 9 prefectures, and it was a fearsome name. I agree with what Yi said. At the same time, the sunset glow appeared, and a spirited old man seemed to walk out from the sunset glow. My lord. The old man in green immediately saluted. This person seemed to be his superior. Another expert in the true god realm. Lin Ling thought to himself. He guessed that the old man was a big shot in the Fu Xing manner. After the old man appeared, he looked deeply at Lin Ling, and then looked at the crowd with a smile. Compared to the various old monsters around, the old man was obviously more normal. Lord Sunset Glory of the Fu Xing manner. The green-robed elder whispered into Lin Ling's ear, and Lin Ling nodded. The 2 strongest leaders of this mission had appeared, and with so many strong cultivators gathered for this mission, there could be more than just 2 leaders. In fact, his guess was right. The 3rd leader had appeared. This was a man in white armor. His steps were like a dragon, and he was full of dominance. He had a heroic beard on his face, and he looked like a king. Chapter 23-28. Falling time and space. The heavenly court was another huge force in the 9 states. Moreover, this man had another identity. He was the 2nd generation of Tsang Ling Academy, one of the 3 great academies in the Green State. He was the youngest among the 3, but his strength had already reached the true God realm. In an instant, all the experts had gathered. Lin Ling stared deeply at the white-armored man. A member of the Heavenly Court? Coincidentally, he was his enemy. Bring all the travel permits here and bring all the cannon fodder here. Prepare to open the 8 gods' heavenly palace. At this moment, Battle Emperor Ling Ying spoke in a dignified voice. With these words, all the experts became excited. The 8 gods' heavenly palace was said to be a secret realm left behind by the 8 gods of the martial god realm. Those who entered the 9 palaces would reach the peak of the martial god realm. This trip, whether they would soar to the heavens or fall forever, it all depended on this moment. Not only them, when the cannon fodder and other experts arrived, all of them became excited. Even Lin Ling was the same. The 8 gods' heavenly palace, it was time for him to return. As long as he could obtain the time and space divine steel, he would be halfway to success on the martial path. Open the heavenly palace. Someone shouted. The ground shook, and all the soil began to flow backward. Gradually, a huge heavenly palace appeared. The heavenly palace was glorious, and the path to the palace was at the top. The 9th floor was at the deepest part of the ground. Blood flowed out continuously. Obviously, opening the heavenly palace had sacrificed a lot of lives. Everyone did not hesitate and walked toward the heavenly palace. Heavenly palace, we meet again. Lin Ling looked at the 8 gods' heavenly palace with nostalgia. In the past, he did not sacrifice many lives to enter, but relied on another secret technique to enter. Now, he was revisiting the old place. Suddenly, he smiled coldly and stared at a youth who was about to enter the heavenly palace. You're called Luo Xiaofan, right? Let me remind you, don't touch the heavenly palace. Rumble. Just as he finished speaking, a ray of light shot out from the heavenly palace. A giant steel fell, suppressing the 9 heavenly palaces of Green State. Out of curiosity, this person touched the door of the heavenly palace and triggered the restriction. Boom! When the huge stone steel completely smashed down, everyone saw that there were a large number of words on the stone steel. 8 gods' heavenly palace, dead enter, living escape. This was a warning. Of course, to everyone, the one who was most surprised was Lin Ling. This was because he had just entered the heavenly palace, but Lin Ling seemed to know some taboos. At the same time, sand appeared around the stone tablet and turned into a silhouette. It was Luo Xiaofan, but he was obviously injured. Of course, compared to the injuries on the surface, he was even more furious because he had lost face. This made his face extremely gloomy. Isn't it great? Lin Ling smiled and strode into the heavenly palace. It was as if he wasn't the one who had been captured, but was more like the master. Seeing this, many experts secretly narrowed their eyes as they were shocked. I'm getting more and more interested in him. Qian Ji Queen smiled seductively. Her breasts were bouncing. After entering the heavenly palace, everyone discovered that this place was a world of its own. The surroundings were pitch black, and a large number of huge rocks were floating in all directions. Moreover, rocks would shoot over from time to time, making one feel as if they had arrived in the starry sky. Meteor space-time. Lin Ling looked around with a smile on his face. Bang! Almost at the same time, a meteor shot over. Some of the cannon fodder didn't react in time and were directly blown to pieces. Suddenly, a large number of panicked cries rang out. The cannon fodder and powerhouses fled in all directions, but they still couldn't escape the attacks of the meteors. Besides the 3 leaders, even the late World King powerhouses were left in an extremely distressed state. Don't panic, don't panic. What are these meteors? Why can't my world essence block them? Voices rang out everywhere. The crowd was like a hornet's nest that had exploded, fleeing in all directions. This is meteor spacetime. The more chaotic you are, the faster you die. Suddenly, someone laughed with satisfaction, mocking those who had died. Looking around, it was one of the 9 heavens of the Azure province, Sun Bone. Tai Tianyi was beside him, and they all had gloating expressions on their faces. As for behind them, there were several guides. They were guides like Lin Ling, and it was clear that these guides had given them directions. As these words came out, many people reacted and no longer dared to move. Then, they discovered that these meteors followed people. The more you ran, the more the meteors chased after you. If you didn't move, the meteors would ignore you. Of course, this was easy to say. In truth, if no one warned them, they would still run. After all, when a meteor crashed down, no one could remain calm. In my opinion, we should kill those useless guides. They have caused so many of us to die. Sun Bone indifferently said, his eyes staring at Lin Ling. It was clear that Tai Tianyi had asked him for help. As for Lin Ling, he was also a guide, but he was obviously useless, so he proposed to kill him. Suddenly, many people echoed his sentiments. However, the 3 leaders didn't speak, causing many people to helplessly shake their heads. As for the 3 leaders, they stared ahead. This meteor spacetime was too large, so how could they reach the 2nd level? Moreover, what treasures were there here? For a moment, many people had the same idea. Only Lin Ling sneered. Without saying a word, he quietly flew toward a huge meteor in the distance. At this moment, no one was paying attention to him, and no one was afraid that he would run away. After all, this was a dangerous place, and he would die faster if he ran away alone. However, a few people were paying attention to him. One of them was Shi Wenba. He seemed to be worried about Lin Ling. The other 3 people were the cloaked man, Void, Queen Qianji, and the old man in green. When they saw Lin Ling flying toward a meteor, they immediately followed him. When Lin Ling landed on the meteor, they stepped forward and looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling was surprised. "Why are you following me? We are afraid that you will run away," Queen Qianji said with a charming smile. Of course, she didn't mean what she said. Lin Ling sneered. He couldn't be bothered to pay attention to these people. Instead, he looked forward. In the void in front of him, tens of thousands of people were still floating there. They thought that they were safe, but soon, more meteors were flying toward them. They seemed to be meteors that had existed for hundreds of millions of years. This, should we move or not? Those meteors are flying toward us. What a huge meteor. I want to run away. Senior Sun Bone, should we run away? The people panicked. Their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. They wanted to run away, but they didn't dare to. They were afraid that the meteors would chase after them. In fact, even Sun Bone's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He didn't know why this happened. Finally, when the meteors were getting closer and closer, he couldn't help but be the first to run away. Fuck. Many people cursed angrily. Boom. Boom. At the same time, the meteors fell and killed a large number of lives. Even Sun Bone was severely injured. As he was running away, he killed a few of his guides in anger. Chapter 23-29. Meeting the martial god tree again. Look over there, those guys are hiding in the meteorites. They're fine. Yes. Someone with sharp eyes noticed the situation at Lin Ling's side. Lin Ling and the others were fine, and even seemed to be enjoying the show. Their expressionless faces made Sun Bone's face turn gloomy. In my opinion, those who are talking nonsense and trying to kill everyone should be killed. Standing on the meteorite, Lin Ling spoke indifferently, directly rebuking Sun Bone. Do you know who you're talking to? Sun Bone's face instantly turned cold, and he shouted sternly. Lin Ling is so arrogant, he will never yield in front of an expert. The crowd was secretly shocked. Because of Lin Ling's arrogance, he had offended many experts. Alright, don't forget the rules. Someone said, causing Sun Bone to frown. He could only suppress his anger, because the person who spoke was not simple. Fortunately, we followed him, or we would have been the ones to suffer. Yes. Behind Lin Ling, Queen Xianji and the others looked at each other, secretly feeling lucky. No wonder Lin Ling was acting so sneakily. It turned out that he was already aware of it, and had been waiting for a good show. In fact, Lin Ling already knew that the meteorites were not only chasing people, but they would also shoot towards you even if you didn't move. Only by hiding in the meteorites floating in the void would one be safe. Seems like this guy is really familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Yes. As for the old man in green, his eyes had a strange look. Subsequently, more and more people appeared on Lin Ling's meteorite. The travel guides looked at Lin Ling with envy, and Lu Yi was among them. Little friend, what should we do next? Among the 3 leaders, Luo Riyao looked at Lin Ling with shock in his eyes. This was because the 8 gods' heavenly palace was a name that many people knew. However, there were not many people who were familiar with the heavenly palace. Even the guides they captured were only slightly familiar with the heavenly palace. Who would have thought that this mysterious youth would be more familiar with the heavenly palace than everyone else? Go where there's light. Lin Ling replied indifferently. Alright, then let's do as you say. Luo Riyao nodded and glanced at the crowd, seemingly asking if they had any opinions. Everyone seemed to agree. Among these powerhouses, many of them were dissatisfied with Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling was indeed somewhat powerful, so they temporarily endured it. Let's get this straight. I don't want to hear any more threats like before. However, Lin Ling also took the opportunity to raise his conditions. Alright, I promise you. Sunset Sun nodded immediately and looked at everyone threateningly. What he meant was, if anyone dared to harm Lin Ling again, don't blame us for being merciless. Bastard! The 2 heavens wills cursed in their hearts. To them, Lin Ling was only an ant, but he was so proud of himself in front of them. Soon, the crowd moved forward again. Then, they discovered that the meteorites here were of various colors. Some were motionless, some were swaying slightly, and some were drifting aimlessly. There were all kinds of strange things. The crowd didn't dare to fly around randomly. They all followed the meteorites. This way, it was much safer. There's an ancient tree growing on that meteorite. It's the martial god tree. Suddenly, the Luo Sha thorn let out a cry of surprise. On top of a huge meteorite in front of them, there was a sapling as tall as a human. There were many fruits on the tree, emitting rings of light. Unfortunately, those fruits were not ripe yet. That was the martial god tree. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. The martial god barracks also had a tree like this, which only grew in the void of the universe. Moreover, the divine tree in front of them was immature. The fruits could be eaten directly. If it grew, the fruits would become the talent fruit. It seems to be the martial god tree of the immortal level. Many powerhouses licked their lips. Although it was not of the Xian level, it could still be helpful for cultivation. However, no one dared to move carelessly. The danger of the meteorite spacetime was obvious to all. Since it's a guide, it should be the guide who explores the path. Lin Ling, you go. At this time, Old Monster Lone Mountain suddenly looked at Lin Ling and said. He actually wanted Lin Ling to explore the unknown path. There are so many cannon fodder and guides here. Why do you want Lin Ling to go? However, the green-robed old man immediately said. That place was very dangerous. If Lin Ling went, he would definitely die. He was the one who guided us to this path. Then, he should be the first to explore the things we encounter on the way. Old Monster Lone Mountain sneered. That's right. Since he guided us to this path, he should be the first to experiment when we encounter danger. The Sea Burial Disorderly Phoenix King also said. In the distance, the two heavenly talents stared at Lin Ling with sneers. Obviously, they were trying to teach Lin Ling a lesson. After all, 60% of the people here were stronger than Lin Ling. Lin Ling should be humble in front of them, not arrogant. You guys are too petty. If it weren't for his guidance, you would still be chased by meteorites. Now that you're safe, you've forgotten about the well digger. Hearing everyone's words, the green-robed old man's face turned ugly and he objected again. However, he was the only one who objected. The others were silent. Whether they were hostile to Lin Ling or not, they definitely needed someone to explore the path. Lin Ling smiled and looked at Sunset Brilliance. Senior, do you want me to explore the path? Not far away, Sunset Brilliance's eyes flickered. He could also see that many people wanted to teach Lin Ling a lesson. In fact, he also had the same idea because he also felt that Lin Ling was too difficult to control. He was very arrogant. Then, will you go? Sunset Brilliance suddenly said. He was thinking that if Lin Ling was in danger, he would lend a hand and take the opportunity to lower Lin Ling's arrogance. Why wait for his reply? If we want him to go, he will go. Seeing that one of the three leaders was asking for Lin Ling's opinion, the crowd was very dissatisfied. They did not give Lin Ling any other choice. Hearing those words, Lin Ling's expression remained unchanged. I can go, but if I encounter any danger along the way, will there be anyone to help me? You? Dream on. If you die ahead, then you can only blame yourself for not being tough enough. Cold laughter rang out instantly. What a joke. Lin Ling was such a weakling. Why should they help him? In fact, the three leaders would not let anything happen to Lin Ling. After all, Lin Ling knew more than the others. Therefore, they only wanted to suppress Lin Ling's pride and make Lin Ling more obedient. Looks like I'm not that popular. Lin Ling shook his head and revealed a faint smile. If that's the case, I don't need your help. However, if I get anything, I'm sure you'll be too embarrassed to share it with me. These people wanted to suppress his spirit. How could Lin Ling not know this? Unfortunately, Lin Ling would not let them have their way. After all, if he listened to everything they said, Lin Ling would lose the initiative. We'll talk about it if you can survive. Chapter 23:30. Another increase in strength, go, I promise you. Yes. Luo Riyao nodded. If Lin Ling went to scout, no one would help him. Naturally, the treasures he obtained would not be shared with others. Although Lin Ling was a guide, he still had to be given some benefits. Of course, the prerequisite was that Lin Ling did not encounter any danger. Hearing that, Lin Ling fell silent. He stared at the meteorite in front of him and did not move. Go, weren't you very arrogant before? Yes. Looks like he's just trying to show off. Now that he knows he's weak, he should just shut his mouth and listen to us. He'll do whatever we say. We are no worse than this guide. Many powerhouses took the opportunity to suppress Lin Ling. As for the guides, they spoke out of jealousy. They all thought that Lin Ling did not dare to go. He was just showing off before. However, Lin Ling still did not move in the face of those sneers. If he doesn't dare to go, then let's continue. One of the three leaders, An Yi, spoke out. He also thought that Lin Ling did not dare to go. Wait, did I say I wouldn't go? However, at that moment, Lin Ling finally opened his mouth lazily. His tone was calm, which surprised everyone. And Ye's eyes flickered. He did not expect Lin Ling to be so calm when talking to him. I was just a little nervous before. That's why I was hesitating. But since I've boasted, I have no choice but to go. So, for the sake of my dignity, I will definitely go. Lin Ling smiled faintly and strode forward. For dignity? Did he forget that he is only a guide? Even the weak have dignity. However, this brat is also a tough nut to crack. Let's see if he will die there for the sake of that last breath. Many people were stunned. Then, their sneers deepened. Lin Ling did not want to be humiliated by powerhouses, so he braced himself and went. From this, it could be seen that Lin Ling did not have much confidence. This brat is really stubborn. Luo Riyao looked at the green-robed elder and shook his head. Alas, why go against everybody for the sake of one breath? The blue-clothed old man bitterly smiled. After meeting Lin Ling, he realized that Lin Ling was very stubborn. Let alone facing experts like them, even if he were to face the sky of the martial god world, he probably wouldn't kneel down. Lin Ling was like a proud and aloof swordsman. He didn't fit in with the crowd and did things his own way. However, he was also prepared to make a move. He believed that the meteorite must be dangerous, and he could not let anything happen to Lin Ling. But the reality was that Lin Ling was very safe. There wasn't even the slightest wind. Lin Ling seemed to be walking on the safest path in the heavenly palace. We're here. Furthermore, he plucked all of the fruits on the tree. He's back now. Everyone felt as if they had been struck by lightning. He had succeeded just like that. It was too simple. Even Luo Riyao's eyes narrowed. There was no danger at all? Okay, I'm back. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling's smiling voice was heard. He was unscathed at this moment. Everyone was stunned. In the next moment, many experts' foreheads were filled with blue veins. They had been fooled by Lin Ling. Due to their fear of the meteorite, they thought that the colorful meteorite was definitely dangerous. However, that meteorite was actually very safe. Hand over the martial god fruit. Finally, an angry voice was heard. It was Sun Gu. How could they be satisfied when they saw that Lin Ling had obtained the treasure so easily while they had not obtained anything? That's right. Leave one martial god fruit and hand over the rest. Don't be too greedy. Those martial god fruits should have been ours, but we were fooled by you. Hand it over. Many experts spoke up too. Even Lu Yin was speaking up for them. In their eyes, Lin Ling had taken advantage of them. Besides, although the martial god fruits were only for the immortal flesh, they could still improve their strength if they were used for cultivation. Hee hee. Lin Ling burst into laughter when he heard the angry roars around him. He suddenly yelled, I asked you to go, but none of you dared to go. Now you have the nerve to say that the martial god fruits belong to you? Are you all so thick-skinned? I only have one word for you, piss off. His voice was extremely loud. It echoed across the rift like thunder. How bold! The experts were enraged. Lin Ling was asking them to piss off. I know you're furious. If you're not satisfied, then come and kill me. Kill whoever dares to. Lin Ling's aura grew stronger. He took a step forward fearlessly. Were these experts treating Lin Ling as cannon fodder? If there was danger, he would go first. If there was a reward, everyone would share it. How could there be such a good deal? Since Lin Ling had started cultivating until now, he'd never suffered a loss like this. The reward this time belongs to him because he risked his life to obtain those treasures. Not to mention that we'll definitely encounter many meteorites along the way. There are treasures on them as well. Everyone can seize them when the time comes. Meanwhile, the warlord Ling Ying tried to smooth things over. Many experts could only suppress their anger. That's right. Moreover, we've already agreed that we won't help him if he encounters danger. So, we'll be embarrassed to share the treasures. Luo Riyao spoke as well. Many experts had embarrassed expressions on their faces. They were indeed quite shameless. What a bunch of mobs. At this moment, Lin Ling laughed coldly. After that, he placed the martial god fruits into his mouth. These treasures would only bring greed to him if he kept them. So, it was best to swallow them directly. The eyes of many experts narrowed when they saw the fruits enter his stomach. Lin Ling is going to swallow the martial god fruits just like that? He's courting death. Each martial god fruit represented a different talent. Lin Ling had swallowed at least 100 fruits, which would form 100 different talents in his body. Once they clashed, Lin Ling would definitely die. Ignorant kid. Old Monster Lone Mountain sneered. He felt that Lin Ling was overestimating himself. Boom. 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 However, after he spoke, a terrifying aura erupted from Lin Ling's body. The roars of gods and demons could be heard. The aura of the fish demon king and hell also soared into the sky. A breakthrough. Lin Ling had obviously broken through. Moreover, it was a breakthrough in his talent. Although no one knew what level he had reached, it was obvious that Lin Ling wasn't dead. This was beyond everyone's understanding of martial arts. Every medicine was poisonous to some extent. Not to mention such a powerful martial god fruit. However, Lin Ling had swallowed a large number of martial god fruits. Not only was he not dead, but his strength had also increased greatly. How was this possible? What kind of cultivation does this guy have? Old Monster Lone Mountain was also incomparably shocked. His previous self-confidence seemed to have been ruthlessly slapped in the face. No one knew that Lin Ling had cultivated the Chaos Deity formula. He could refine anything, including chaos. It was just a martial god fruit. What was there to be afraid of? At this moment, Lin Ling opened his eyes and couldn't help but smile. He felt that his god-demon body had increased again. It had reached more than 4,000 points of power. Chapter 23:31. Meteor Snake. Right now, Lin Ling could kill Tai Tianyi in one move. However, Lin Ling quickly restrained his aura. He did not intend to reveal his strength. Of course, even so, everyone was still in shock, especially Tai Tianyi. He was the most jealous. Let's go. Luo Riyao did not pay too much attention to it. In his opinion, Lin Ling might have been lucky enough to obtain some kind of secret technique that allowed him to refine the martial god fruit. That being said, if he knew that Lin Ling possessed the most mysterious cultivation technique in the martial god realm, he would definitely go crazy. Even if he had to give up the 8 gods' heavenly palace, he had to obtain the primal chaos divine formula. The group continued onward, and soon, they encountered another meteorite that was emitting 5-colored light. The crowd began to stir. Soon after, he discovered that there were indeed treasures of heaven and earth on the meteorite. It's the 100 Worlds flower. Someone cried out in alarm. That type of flower was the same as the martial god tree, able to grow in the void. This was clearly an extremely precious treasure. Mine. Mine. Didn't they come to the 8 gods' heavenly palace for these treasures? Lin Ling, you won't have a chance this time. In the distance, the Luo Sha Thorn looked at Lin Ling mockingly and swaggered towards the meteorite. Previously, Lin Ling had been greedy once, and the following treasures obviously had nothing to do with Lin Ling. Go, I won't be jealous of you. Lin Ling shrugged, as if he didn't care at all. His current strength had greatly increased, and he needed some time to familiarize himself with the strength of his body, so he didn't plan on obtaining any more treasures. Most importantly, a 5-colored meteorite did not mean that there was no danger. Before Lin Ling obtained the martial god fruit, he had waited for a long time. In fact, he was waiting for the meteorite to change its color. This was because the meteorite had 7 different colors. Although it looked colorful, the colors were constantly changing. The 7 colors corresponded to the treasures on the meteorites. If someone who didn't know how to calculate went near the meteorites, the consequences would be dire. Yo, you were the one who found the path. Now that you see the treasure being taken away by others, you must be very jealous. Queen Qianji suddenly said with a smile. What's there to be jealous of? Compared to treasures, life is more important. Lin Ling shook his head. Queen Qianji was stunned. What did Lin Ling mean? However, she thought that Lin Ling was just trying to show off. In fact, her heart ached for him, so she said again, why do you have to hide it? Sometimes, it's better to be honest. Pretending to be mysterious will only make people look down on you. However, as soon as she finished speaking, a rumbling noise sounded from up ahead. The meteor exploded, as if heaven and earth were falling apart. Everyone who got close to the meteorite was killed. Even the Luo Sha thorn was shocked to the point of spitting out blood. Queen Qianji was stunned. Lin Ling was not trying to show off. He was not jealous at all. The crowd was also stunned. They couldn't believe their eyes. Why was it that Lin Ling was fine when he snatched the treasure, but they were fine when they approached? Everyone looked at Lin Ling angrily. Lin Ling shrugged as if he didn't see them, it's just a matter of luck. What he said was like pouring oil on the fire. Those old monsters almost lost their minds and killed Lin Ling. This guy is ruthless. He secretly fights back against those who are hostile to him. Wow! Seeing that, Luo Riyao's impression of Lin Ling improved again. He had a feeling that Lin Ling knew about the danger, but Lin Ling didn't mention it. He purposely framed those people. After that, no one dared to get close to the meteors. After the Luo Sha thorn returned, he stared at Lin Ling with murderous intent and shouted, Lin Ling, you're asking for death. You knew it was dangerous, but you didn't mention it. Wow! Am I your father? Or your mother? Do I have the obligation to warn you? When I went to snatch the treasure, you didn't have the obligation to help me. Now, you're blaming me. Don't you think you're being unreasonable? Is this your first time out here? Do you think the 8 gods' heavenly palace is your backyard? Please, do you have a brain? Before entering the heavenly palace, the stone tablet was warning you. 8 gods' heavenly palace, the dead enter, the living avoid. However, as soon as the Luo Sha thorn finished speaking, Lin Ling bombarded him with a bunch of words. The Luo Sha thorn couldn't refute him. Hearing that, the crowd was angry but couldn't say anything. Because Lin Ling's words were reasonable. Lin Ling couldn't warn everyone. He wasn't their father or mother. Let's move forward. Don't complicate things. Seeing Lin Ling's verbal battle with the crowd, Battle King Linging also spoke out, causing many people to restrain their anger and continue forward. Along the way, no one dared to casually collect treasures. Gradually, a huge light stone appeared in front of them. It was different from the surrounding meteors. It was extremely dazzling. Seeing that, everyone was delighted. Were they finally going to leave the meteor spacetime? Lin Ling's eyes lit up with joy. They were finally here. That's a light stone. Break it and you'll enter the 2nd level. Lin Ling's voice raised the crowd's spirits. They all flew forward and attacked at the same time. Looking at the crazy crowd, Lin Ling shook his head helplessly and said, I forgot to say. Once the light stone is broken, the meteor-flowing snake will awaken. Boom! Boom! However, Lin Ling only said this after everyone had attacked the light stone. Obviously, it was too late. After the huge light stone was broken, a huge snake that seemed to be condensed from light slowly awakened. Moreover, it swam towards the crowd ferociously. Its aura was terrifying. Even the three leaders sucked in a breath of cold air. Only Lin Ling was calm. Because he already knew all of this. This was also the reason why he still followed everyone. He needed these strong cultivators to block the light snake. Then, he could enter the second level. Why didn't you say so earlier? I'm going to kill you. See, Burial Chi Phoenix King's angry voice came from the front. He hated Lin Ling because he was the closest to the terrifying light snake. He thought he was going to enter the second level, so he was too excited. He didn't expect that there would be such a hidden danger. Hearing that, Lin Ling sneered, "Do you think the meteor-flowing snake won't appear if I tell you? Since we're all going to enter the second level, we'll have to face the meteor-flowing snake sooner or later." Although the three leaders complained that Lin Ling was too insidious, they didn't blame Lin Ling. After all, it was a risk that they would have to face sooner or later. "Lin Ling, you've got guts." See, Burial Chi Phoenix King was so angry that his face turned ferocious. He had become cannon fodder. Moreover, he found that among all the strong cultivators in the martial gods' camp, this guy was the most despicable. Sizzle. 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 At this moment, the meteor-flowing snake swam out. What was more terrifying was that it didn't make any sound. Moreover, it was extremely fast. As for the attacks that fell on the meteor-flowing snake, all of them disappeared as if they had entered the light. That was too terrifying. It was simply invincible. The light was the realm essence that could block everything. Chapter 23-32. Rushing into the second floor, you'd better work together to suppress its light. Otherwise, when its light gets stronger, all of us will die. Lin Ling looked ahead and reminded them. Its light, what is the strongest level it can reach? Luo Riyao frowned and looked at Lin Ling. It can cover the entire meteorite spacetime. Lin Ling said word by word. His words shocked Luo Riyao. The meteorite spacetime was like the void of the universe. It was pitch black, but the terrifying light emitted by the snake could turn the pitch-black void into light. This was too terrifying. "Thank you," Luo Riyao hurriedly said to Lin Ling. This sentence was from the bottom of his heart. He now realized that they were lucky to have Lin Ling as their guide. However, Lin Ling shook his head and did not say anything. At this moment, the mysterious meteorite stream snake was constantly moving. It seemed to have no eyes, but its head was looking at Lin Ling. It seemed to have sensed a familiar aura. It did not know how many years it had been here. Anyway, it remembered that among the people who entered the Eight Gods' heavenly palace, there were only a few people that it cared about. One of them was a mysterious young man, and now, there was the aura of that young man in front of it. Kill. Almost at the same time, all the experts attacked, wanting to kill the meteorite stream snake. Seeing this, Lin Ling shook his head because he knew that the snake was immortal. As long as there was light, it could be resurrected. The fierce battle in front lasted for 3 hours. At the same time, Lin Ling finally moved because a light spot appeared behind the meteorite stream snake. That was the path to the second floor. Along the way, there were a lot of light spots around, and Lin Ling casually collected them. This was the meteorite stream light, a rare material for forging treasures. Although Lin Ling's actions were silent, as time passed, many people noticed Lin Ling's actions. They immediately shouted coldly, "Lin Ling, what are you doing?" "What?" "To the second floor." Lin Ling didn't hide anything and continued flying forward. "You're courting death." Hearing this, the cultivators who were floating in the void were furious. They had blocked the meteor-flowing snake, but Lin Ling had taken the opportunity to escape. How despicable. Unfortunately, they obviously couldn't catch up to Lin Ling. They could only helplessly watch as Lin Ling left. "Don't worry, he will die," Sea Burial Chi Phoenix Lord said gloomily in the crowd. At this moment, he was the closest to Lin Ling. However, as he had been seriously injured, he didn't act rashly. However, he believed that the mysterious ancient snake would not let Lin Ling have his way. In fact, Lin Ling was indeed in great danger at this moment. However, if he didn't leave, he would be controlled by these experts. This wasn't something Lin Ling wanted to see. Before Lin Ling entered the Eight Gods' heavenly palace, he already had a plan. He would use the natural perils of this place to shake off these experts. The closer he got to the light spot, the closer he got to the meteor-flowing snake. At this moment, the dazzling ancient snake finally looked at Lin Ling. A wisp of aura that seemed to come from ancient times filled the air. Upon seeing this, Sea Burial Chi Phoenix Lord sneered. "Lin Ling, go to hell." Along the way, they had been riding on Lin Ling's head, so their hatred for Lin Ling was getting stronger and stronger. Lin Ling didn't care about those who were gloating at his misfortune. He flew with all his strength and rushed towards the light spot at his fastest speed. "Don't stare at me," he secretly shouted in his heart. However, the more he feared something, the closer the terrifying thing got. Chi chi. The meteor-flowing snake slithered over. Its speed was faster than light. When Lin Ling was about to step into the light spot, the snake appeared behind him. It raised its head high as if it was an existence that had controlled life and death since ancient times. As long as Lin Ling dared to move, he would die immediately. Sensing the ferocious aura behind him, Lin Ling's forehead was covered in cold sweat. A life and death crisis was approaching. However, there was only silence behind him. Lin Ling turned his head and saw the meteor-flowing snake looking at him indifferently. It didn't make any unnecessary movements. It recognized me. A thought came to Lin Ling's mind. Then, he smiled and said, "Long time no see." The meteor-flowing snake still didn't move. It just looked at Lin Ling quietly. Its body was covered in light, making it impossible for people to see its eyes. Upon seeing this, Lin Ling tentatively took a step forward. He was taking a gamble. In the past, he ruled the Eight-God Celestial Palace and defeated the meteor-flowing snake with his powerful strength. Today, he was revisiting the old place, so how could he give up so easily? When the meteor-flowing snake saw Lin Ling move, the light on its body finally intensified. However, gradually, it seemed to have thought of something and finally stopped paying attention to Lin Ling. Perhaps it was because too much time had passed, or perhaps it was because it was too lonely, so it cherished being able to see an old friend of the past. No one could understand its thoughts, and no one could know how boring it was to guard this place in the void for countless years. Therefore, it would cherish anyone who left a deep impression on it. The huge light snake slithered toward the crowd again, causing the gloating crowd to feel as if they were struck by lightning. How could this be? Impossible. Not far away, the Sea Burial Disorderly Phoenix King let out a jealous voice. He was so angry that his body was trembling and his face was distorted. Lin Ling had succeeded. Could it be that the meteor-flowing snake would stop killing people as long as they got close to that light spot? He was unwilling to accept this. He also wanted to enter the second level. Moreover, if Lin Ling could succeed, so could he. After all, there would be more treasures on the second level. He wanted to become stronger. Therefore, he moved his body and shot toward Lin Ling. However, as soon as he moved, the meteor-flowing snake also moved, and its speed was even faster than his. A light wave appeared and cut everything. The painful cry of the blue phoenix could be heard in the void. The Sea Burial Disorderly Phoenix King was cut in two and died. He stared at Lin Ling, feeling even more unwilling. Why could Lin Ling be recognized by the meteor-flowing snake, but he couldn't? Why? His head flew out, and for some reason, it flew toward Lin Ling. Lin Ling caught it with his right hand and held it in his hand. Staring at the unwilling eyes on the head, he finally put it into his ring. The sea burial disorderly Phoenix King thought that he was recognized by luck. In fact, he didn't know how long the battle between Li Xiaoyao and the meteor-flowing snake had lasted. Because of that battle, Li Xiaoyao and the meteor-flowing snake had known each other for a long time. They were enemies, but they appreciated each other. Therefore, it was all because of the karma left behind in the past. Then, without any hesitation, Lin Ling entered the light spot. He was also the first person to step into the second level in this grand plan. For many experts, this was a miracle. He entered the second level. The crowd in the distance was filled with jealousy and confusion. As for the two from the 9 heavens of Qingzhou, their jealousy was stronger than anyone else's. They were the chosen ones, but they weren't recognized by the meteor-flowing snake. However, Lin Ling, a good-for-nothing existence, succeeded. Did this mean that the meteor-flowing snake looked down on them? Were they weaker than Lin Ling? Let's do it. Even if we lose our lives, we must suppress that snake. Chapter 23-33. Earth Elemental Land. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The battle in the void became even more intense. Everyone was going all out. Gradually, the light of the meteor-flowing snake began to dim. It seemed that it was only a matter of time before it disappeared. On the other side, Lin Ling stepped into the second level. This was the Earth Elemental Land. Looking around, an endless desert stretched out and waves of heat soared into the heavens. It was as if there were no signs of life in this barren land. I'm finally back. Looking at the endless desert in front of him, Lin Ling revealed a smile that hadn't appeared in a long time. This was because the space-time divine tablet was located in the second level of the Earth Elemental Land. In the past, Li Xiaoyao had never been able to reach the third level. In the end, he had failed and left behind the space-time divine tablet. But today, Lin Ling had returned to take back the treasure of the past. Although the process was fraught with danger, the closer he got to the space-time divine tablet, the more it would be worth it. With the strength of the 3 leaders, they will be able to enter soon. I have to find the space-time divine tablet before they enter. Lin Ling carried the ancient sword on his back. He stepped forwards, following the desert. This desert was extremely mysterious. In this desert, the moisture in one's body would constantly disappear. Moreover, let alone the human body, even the treasures on one's body would gradually lose their spiritual energy. This was a type of source power of chaos. No one was an exception in this desert. Lin Ling first swallowed all the treasures on his body. If he didn't use them, then it would be a waste. Moreover, he also swallowed all the divine crystals. Then, he continued forwards. Bang! After an unknown period of time, the ground suddenly exploded. Sand shot up into the skies and a 5-meter-long twin-tailed scorpion crawled out from the ground. Looking at its aura, it seemed to have strength equal to a first-level world king. This was a desert storm scorpion. To Lin Ling, it wasn't too terrifying. He only needed to pay attention to its poisonous tail. Moreover, its poisonous tail was also a good material. Lin Ling's complexion was as calm as an ancient well. He didn't erupt with the power of world essence. Instead, he grasped the Tyrant Song sword and slashed out with his divinity and demon body. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A huge ditch was carved out in the desert, and the desert storm scorpion was instantly split into 2. After Lin Ling collected the tail, he immediately left. In the desert, any realm essence was very precious and could not be easily wasted. This was because the recovery speed of realm essence here was very slow and could even be said to be non-existent. Along the way, Lin Ling encountered many unique divine beasts in the desert, but he didn't pay much attention to them because he knew that the most terrifying thing here was the 8 Hell Corpse Worm. I am currently at the first level of the World King realm and my foundation is the most solid. I can also cultivate the 5th level of the Profound Sword Record. Previously, Lin Ling knew that his strength was still too weak, so he used this period of time to increase his strength. Luckily, his divinity and demon body had been greatly enhanced. Currently, within the first level of the World King realm, there were few that could match him. As time went by, the 5th level of the Xianjian record was also successfully cultivated. This level was called the Mountain of Blades and Sword Trees. With a single sword strike, it formed a tremendous vibrating power that could shatter a world. When combined with Lin Ling's divinity and demon body, it could be said to be extremely terrifying. Although the Xianjian record was a low second-grade origin world martial art, by relying on this sword strike alone, there were many low second-grade origin world martial arts that couldn't block this sword strike. And the reason he was able to cultivate it so quickly was because of Lin Ling's left eye and the ultimate sword Dao. In particular, the ultimate sword Dao was of great help to Lin Ling. After walking for an unknown period of time, Lin Ling's handsome face was filled with the vicissitudes of life, as if he were a lone swordsman. And in the desert, more and more figures gradually appeared. It was clear that those people from Meteor Spacetime had also entered the 2nd level. And on this day, in the desert in front of him, a small black dot appeared. This small black dot was extremely conspicuous in the yellow sand, and there were several sand beasts surrounding this black dot. It was unknown what they were doing. However, when Lin Ling approached, he saw that it was a corpse, and the surrounding sand beasts were devouring the corpse. Most importantly, the corpse belonged to someone Lin Ling knew. It was Lu Yi. This Lu Yi was also one of the guides. When he first came into contact with Lin Ling, he thought that Lin Ling was a newcomer, so he deceived Lin Ling. In the end, he was interrupted by Shi Wenba. Who would have thought that he would die here? Moreover, his eyes were wide open, and it was obvious that he was extremely unwilling to die. Sigh. Lin Ling's eyes flickered, and finally, he sighed softly. In the world of the strong, the weak had no right to live, and could die at any time in a foreign land. He could imagine how Lu Yi would rise up in the myriad worlds, becoming the most dazzling genius of his hometown. He had come to the martial god world with lofty ambitions, wanting to achieve great things, but the result was that he would forever perish here. And his death would undoubtedly cause his family and friends to be heartbroken. Lin Ling couldn't help but think of his grandfather in his hometown, Yu, and the others. For them, Lin Ling wanted to become stronger, and he definitely wouldn't become cannon fodder like Lu Yi. Knowing each other is also fate, rest in peace. Then, Lin Ling waved his right hand, and the power of the world essence caused a giant pit to appear in the desert. Lin Ling buried Lu Yi in the desert, and it could be considered as letting Lu Yi rest in peace. Although they had only met once, and their relationship was extremely bad, a person's death was like an extinguished lamp. If he could help with something, Lin Ling wouldn't turn a blind eye to it. And just as Lin Ling buried Lu Yi, suddenly, a large number of figures crossed the desert. These people were riding strange fanged camels, and as they ran, a sandstorm rose. Fanged camels were the weakest sand beasts in the desert. When he saw this, Lin Ling frowned slightly, but he didn't take any action because he noticed that these people weren't strong. There were more than a dozen people riding fanged camels, and they quickly surrounded Lin Ling. Brother Ma is still the best, you know how to catch fanged camels as mounts. This desert consumes a lot of spirit chi and water, and it'll be much more convenient for us with these mounts. A joyful voice resounded in the surroundings, and Lin Ling raised his head to look over, and he noticed that these people were all guides. Obviously, these guides were familiar with the second level and knew how to catch camels as mounts. And these guides were also staring at Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling's face was covered in sand because he was conserving spirit chi, and his body was extremely dusty, so they didn't recognize Lin Ling for a moment. "You're alone?" Finally, one of them asked, and his tone was respectful because Lin Ling's clothes made him look like a lone swordsman, so he didn't dare underestimate him. He seems to be Lin Ling. But at this moment, a sharp-eyed person let out a sharp voice. As soon as this voice fell, the previous respect and cautiousness disappeared, and everyone immediately revealed a smile. They were wondering where this strong person came from, but it turned out to be Lin Ling. As for Lin Ling, they naturally weren't afraid because Lin Ling was also a guide, and even a member of the cannon fodder, so what was so great about him? Lin Ling didn't know what they were laughing about, but he still asked, "Now, how many people have entered the second level? What about Shi Wenba?" He knew that under the cooperation of the three leaders, everyone would definitely enter the second level, but he didn't know how many people would die on the way. Chapter 23-34. Astonishment. Lin Ling, I heard that you are very familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Tell us all the information you know. Also, you must have collected a lot of treasures along the way. Hand them all over. Don't think that we will be afraid just because you are attending Wenba. Strength is everything here. Those people jumped down from their camels and sneered at Lin Ling. One of the youths said calmly, "You should know that many seniors want to kill you. So, if we kill you, we can also claim credit in front of some seniors." With these words, the others became excited. Killing Lin Ling would probably give them many rewards from the seniors. Our luck is not bad. Thinking of the rewards that were about to be obtained, the surrounding people laughed heartily. At first, Lin Ling was frowning, but gradually, he relaxed. He sighed in his heart. Everyone was a guide, but at the critical moment, they would also attack each other. All of this was for the sake of benefits. He could not help but think of the dead Lu Yi. Lu Yi's reputation among the guides and cannon fodder was not good, but these people were worse than him. At least Lu Yi was open and aboveboard. He wanted to harm others, but he would not hide his schemes. When these people were captured, they all pretended to be pitiful to gain sympathy, but in reality, they all had the intention to harm others. "Lin Ling, did you hear me?" The calm youth said again, but his words made Lin Ling shake his head. Although Lin Ling was a guide, it did not mean that he had the strength of a genius. "Ma Nan, what do you want to do?" At this moment, a few figures flew over from the distance. The one in the lead was Shi Wenba. Seeing Shi Wenba arrive, the surrounding people's expressions changed slightly. "Shi Wenba, this matter has nothing to do with you." "Scram!" The youth called Ma Nan said coldly. Although Shi Wenba had a good reputation among the guides and cannon fodder, this was the 8 gods' heavenly palace. He did not need to be afraid. "Ma Nan, don't go too far." Not long after, Shi Wenba and the others arrived and looked at Lin Ling in surprise. They had never thought that Lin Ling would still be alive. Lin Ling also smiled. Among so many people, he was only a little familiar with Shi Wenba. "It seems like you really want to get involved in this matter. Don't forget, this Lin Ling has offended many important people. If you help him, that's the same as offending those important people." Ma Nan coldly looked at Shi Wenba and the others. As soon as his words fell, Shi Wenba and the others clearly hesitated. After all, the matter of Lin Ling offending those lords, they also saw with their own eyes. However, Shi Wenba suddenly gritted his teeth. He seemed to have thrown caution to the wind. He took a step forward and stood in front of Lin Ling, using his actions to represent his choice. "Shi Wenba, you've already made the best choice. Now, the only outcome is death." Let me tell you something. Don't think that we only have this many people. I've already notified the other experts to come and help us. Then, he looked at Lin Ling. Are you going to surrender? Or commit suicide? Let me tell you, in front of me, you only have these two choices. Either commit suicide or die. With that last sentence, Shi Wenba exploded with a powerful aura, as if he was dominating the entire world, causing the people in the surroundings to cheer. They had been captured by the strong, and had always been submissive. Now, they could finally hold their heads high, and have a taste of the joy of dominating the lives of others. Seeing this, Shi Wenba and the others' expressions became more serious. The situation was very troublesome. When the two sides collided, they had fewer people and would definitely be at a disadvantage. And when the experts came, they would all die. Of course, not to mention the experts, even Ma Nan's people were difficult to deal with at present. Shi Wenba never thought that the prestige he had accumulated among the cannon fodder would be so unbearable. No one gave him face at all. All of you, come together. However, at this moment, Lin Ling's voice suddenly sounded, causing the laughter in the surroundings to instantly disappear. Everyone's expression froze. Lin Ling wanted them to come together? How dare you? Do you think I'm those lords? They're using you, so they let you be arrogant. We don't care about that at all. How can we allow you to be arrogant in front of us? The young man called Ma Nan reprimanded coldly and indifferently, and he'd completely forgotten that he was actually only cannon fodder in Luyin. He was respectful and reverent before experts, but he was arrogant and overbearing before Lin Ling. Kill him. The other young men also shouted angrily and unleashed their boundary origin seeds one after another. Lin Ling, be careful. Seeing this, Shi Wenba and the others cried out in alarm. They were all geniuses from various worlds, but there were differences in strength. Ma Nan and the others were obviously stronger. Lin Ling was also a captured genius from various worlds. His strength was definitely not enough to stop Ma Nan and the others' joint attack. Claw explosion. Tai Chi demon curse. Dragon demon hand. By the time Shi Wenba and the others wanted to attack, it was already too late. The terrifying attack blasted onto Lin Ling's body like an avalanche, and the desert was stirred up into a terrifying sandstorm. Dead. Lin Ling was definitely dead. Shi Wenba and the others' faces turned pale, especially Shi Wenba. He seemed to have lost something, and his face was filled with anger. Ma Nan and the others had proud smiles on their faces, and they were even a little excited because killing Lin Ling meant that they could take credit in front of those lords. We're all from various worlds. Why fight to the death? However, at this moment, a soft voice suddenly floated out. In the sky full of sand, a slender figure walked out. Who else could it be but Lin Ling? Seeing this scene, everyone's expression was as if they had seen a ghost. Their strength had all given birth to boundary seeds, and they had even converted 40% of their boundary seeds. However, under their all-out attacks, Lin Ling was still alive. And most importantly, Lin Ling hadn't blocked at all. He had simply stood there and withstood their attacks. How could he be fine? Subconsciously, there was only a single conclusion in their minds, and that was that Lin Ling's strength surpassed theirs by far too much. Could he be a World King realm powerhouse that possesses the strength of an entire world? Isn't he the same as us, a genius from various worlds? How could he be so strong? Heavens, I fear his strength can compare with the geniuses of martial god world. Ma Nan and the others fell to the ground. They envied Lin Ling because they thought that Lin Ling's origins were the same as theirs. But now, they realized that Lin Ling was actually different from them. And most importantly, they had been excited that their luck was good, but now they felt that their luck was terrible. Even Shi Wenba sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't know that Lin Ling was a World King realm powerhouse. And to them, a World King Realm powerhouse was a senior. They were existences that they could only look up to. Brother Shi Wenba, how could this Lin Ling be so fierce? Beside Shi Wenba, a young girl cried out in alarm. They thought that they were Lin Ling's backers, but now they discovered that Lin Ling didn't need to rely on anyone else. As for Lin Ling, he was still standing there, his expression as calm as an ancient well, like a proud and aloof swordsman. Chapter 23-35. Fighting Tai Tianyi again, not good. Shi Wenba and the others paled. Tai Tianyi was a true genius of martial god world. He wasn't someone that Lin Ling could contend with. Tai Tianyi. Lin Ling was also surprised. According to common sense, Tai Tianyi shouldn't have dared to appear in front of him. However, Lin Ling soon understood. This was because there were several people beside Tai Tianyi. One of them was an old man at the second stage of the World King realm. No wonder Tai Tianyi was so bold. Lin Ling, so you were hiding here. Young Master Tai, I'll kill him for you. After the several people landed, a gloomy old man stared at Lin Ling. His eyes were as cold as an eagle's. However, Tai Tianyi only shook his head. He sneered at Lin Ling as if he wanted to see through Lin Ling. Young Master Tai Tianyi, defeat him. Let him know what a true genius of martial god world is. Lin Ling, don't think you're so great. In front of Tai Tianyi, you're nothing. You're just a lowly bastard from the myriad worlds. How can you compare to a genius of martial god world like Tai Tianyi? Ma Nan and the others quickly flattered. They could already foresee Lin Ling's death. Listening to these voices, Lin Ling shook his head. He looked at them and said, yes, I came from the north. I can't compare to these geniuses of martial god world. However, before he finished speaking, Ma Nan coldly snorted and said, you finally know how lowly you are. At this moment, he felt extremely carefree. It was as if he had crushed Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling wasn't angry. He said, but, don't forget that you also came from the myriad worlds. As these words fell, Ma Nan and the others were stunned. They couldn't refute him. They mocked Lin Ling for being trash from the myriad worlds. However, they had forgotten that they also came from the myriad worlds. Thus, in truth, they were also cursing themselves. Of course, after being stunned for a moment, anger rose in their hearts. This was because Lin Ling was too calm. He wasn't angry at all. Instead, it was a type of disdain. His heart is higher than the sky. From his attitude, it can be seen that Lin Ling is of a higher level than Ma Nan and the others. They are not on the same level. The young girl beside Shi Wenba said with adoration. In her heart, Lin Ling was simply an exception among the geniuses of the myriad worlds. Lin Ling, don't flaunt your power of speech. In front of Senior Tai Tianyi, you won't be able to withstand 3 of his moves. Ma Nan flew into a rage out of humiliation. He then looked at Tai Tianyi respectfully, Senior Tai Tianyi, please defeat him cleanly. The others also saluted. They were no match for Lin Ling, but they wanted to see Lin Ling defeated. Shut up. Unfortunately, Tai Tianyi didn't even look at them. He stared deeply at Lin Ling and said, the geniuses from the 10,000 realms are indeed quite impressive. Lin Ling, your strength is already enough to enter the 3 great academies of Qingzhou. His words left Ma Nan and the others dumbfounded. One had to know that Tai Tianyi was going to enter the 3 great academies of Qingzhou. To them, that sacred place was something they could only look up to. Therefore, they could only worship and submit to Tai Tianyi. But now, Tai Tianyi actually admitted that Lin Ling was very strong. Was this a dream? Last time, I joined forces with Luo Yezhuang to fight you, but we also failed. Luo Yezhuang was even killed by you. This time, I want to wash away my previous humiliation. Tai Tianyi said again. He didn't dare to underestimate Lin Ling. However, his words were like thunder, causing Ma Nan and the others to stand there trembling. Even Shi Wenbo was the same. Lin Ling had actually come into contact with Tai Tianyi and the others, and even killed Luo Yezhuang. As for Luo Yezhuang, they had heard of this famous genius. It was said that he was one of the 12 young masters of the only commandery. He was so famous that even many geniuses in the martial god world were no match for him. Why didn't they know about this news? The funny thing was that they thought Lin Ling was the same as them, an ant-like existence. All of this was undoubtedly extremely ironic. Tai Tianyi, you're no match for me. At this moment, Lin Ling didn't know what the others were thinking. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. That's not necessarily true. Tai Tianyi's lips curled into a confident smile. He had lost to Lin Ling, which left a flaw in his martial Dao heart. Therefore, he wanted to defeat Lin Ling with his own hands and prove that he was a rare genius in the Tating Commandery. If it was before, he definitely wouldn't have this confidence. However, not long ago, he had obtained an opportunity in the Earth Elemental Land and his realm had completely stabilized. It shouldn't be difficult for him to defeat Lin Ling. Young Master Tai, you can go all out and fight. With us around, he won't be able to escape. Beside him, the old man noticed Tai Tianyi's thoughts and immediately said. Good, I will defeat him with my own hands. Tai Tianyi proudly nodded. His aura became increasingly wild. He roared out, Lin Ling, I know that your mortal body is fierce and your sword Dao is strange. But, the first level of the World King realm depends on your world essence. To be able to truly produce the strength of a world, that is the true first level of the World King realm. If a first-level World King's realm was unstable, then their attacks would draw upon the strength of 10,000 worlds. But after stabilizing their realm, they would be able to produce the strength of an entire world. What was the strength of an entire world? It was the strength of a world. So what? Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He could also feel that Tai Tianyi's strength had risen. Unfortunately, only his strength had risen. You'll understand. Tai Tianyi didn't want to explain anything, because the result represented everything. He roared out once more, burn. Bang! His entire body emitted a thunderous roar. Beast flames boiled and his world essence combusted, as if the entire world was being incinerated by heavenly flames. His aura climbed higher and higher. With this combat strength, he feared he could fight a second-level World King powerhouse. This was because he was burning his world essence. Is this the legendary burning of world essence? Tai Tianyi is facing Lin Ling and he is actually burning his world essence. Everyone cried out in alarm. From this, it could be seen just how much importance Tai Tianyi placed on Lin Ling. Risking his life? Lin Ling didn't think that Tai Tianyi would choose to burn his world essence. This was because the side effects of burning world essence were too great, there was even a chance he would become a cripple. This was the life-saving card of a World King powerhouse. Unless they were in a life-or-death situation, no one would use it. It can't be considered a life-or-death struggle. This is because after I burn my world essence I can thoroughly erase you. As for me, I will only be slightly wounded. Tai Tianyi raised his right hand high up. Beast flames and world essence fused together in his palm, forming a giant sphere. If one looked carefully, they would see that this was a world. It was like he was holding up a world to kill Lin Ling. How terrifying! Retreat! Ma Nan and the others all drew back. They finally saw what a true genius of the martial god world was like. Then, they stared at Lin Ling, wanting to see whether or not Lin Ling would panic. However, they were all disappointed. Lin Ling only frowned a little. Lin Ling, do you know fear now? My world essence combusts. That is enough to erase a second-level World King powerhouse. Retreat. However, Tai Tianyi thought that Lin Ling was beginning to feel fear. Thus, his self-confidence grew even stronger. I approve. Retreat. Chapter 23-36. Unable to withstand a single blow, I thought you didn't know the power of my realm essence. However, you are quite knowledgeable. Then, before you die, you should leave behind some words. Tai Tianyi laughed wildly. He was obviously very excited because Lin Ling already knew that he couldn't stop his realm essence from burning. Therefore, Lin Ling must be panicking and regretting that he didn't kill him last time. He might even be thinking of escaping. However, Tai Tianyi didn't know that all of this was just his own arrogance. I want to say that in a battle between cultivators, whoever controls more power won't necessarily win. Sometimes, if you have a good hand but can't use it, then everything is just empty talk. Sigh. Lin Ling shook his head and said. In the next moment, he finally made his move. A mysterious boundary essence flowed from the bottom of Lin Ling's feet into the desert. The terrifying boundary essence was formless and colorless, like a bomb exploding. This was an earth-shattering explosion. Tai Tianyi was still enjoying Lin Ling's expression. However, at this time, the old man's expression changed drastically and he roared, "Young Master Tai, be careful." The old man obviously sensed that Lin Ling had made his move. Tai Tianyi's eyes narrowed as a terrifying sense of danger descended. In the next moment, a huge light pillar rushed out from under his feet and rose from the ground. It was as if it could destroy the world. No! Tai Tianyi roared and wanted to dodge, but it was obviously too late. At the same time, Lin Ling's voice floated into his ears, burning your realm essence can indeed increase your attack power by a large amount. However, what's the use if your defense isn't strong? These words made Tai Tianyi realize that he had always wanted to kill Lin Ling in one move. However, he didn't consider whether he could use his move. Moreover, before he made his move, what if Lin Ling made his move? How could he block it? Everything was as Lin Ling said. If he had a good hand but couldn't use it, then everything was just empty talk. Boom! With all kinds of confusion, Tai Tianyi was blasted into pieces by the light pillar. Even his realm essence exploded, causing the sand to tumble like waves. Killed in one move. Young Master Tai Tianyi is dead. Sensing that terrifying fluctuation, Ma Nan and the others seemed to have forgotten how to breathe. Tai Tianyi, the genius of Tating Commandery, was about to enter the three big academies of Qingzhou. He was the idol of all the geniuses from all over the world. He came to kill Lin Ling because he thought that Lin Ling would definitely die. But in the end, Tai Tianyi couldn't even withstand a single blow. And Lin Ling's entire process was clean and efficient. This was what a true genius was like. This was because geniuses who had truly fought tens of thousands of battles could use their various advantages to easily defeat experts of the same level. In fact, as long as the enemy revealed the slightest weakness, they would be killed in a single blow. And this was still a guide in their eyes? Of course, it wasn't just Ma Nan and the others who were shocked. Even the other experts were shocked. They knew that they had underestimated Lin Ling. Impressive, impressive. Young Master Tai's role in this plan is not light. His strength is not weak, and you are only a guide. This led us to think that you are weak. Who would have thought that your role in this plan is even more important than young Master Tai's? The old man deeply looked at Lin Ling. He's just too excited. Lin Ling appeared on the other side, neither happy nor sad. Good, good, good. Then we won't underestimate you anymore. We must kill you, otherwise we won't be able to answer to Sun Bone. As for me, I am a second-stage world king and we have 5 people on our side. Do you think we can kill you? Lin Ling's calm demeanor caused the old man's heart to become even more dignified. This was a terrifying monstrous genius. We can't. Lin Ling slowly drew his sword. With the tyrant song in hand, he vanished. Dodge domain. His strength had greatly increased. He had always wanted to fight to his heart's content, and now he had such a battle. Heart flute sword form. He soon appeared in front of a first-stage World King powerhouse and slashed out with his sword. You are seeking death. The powerhouse angrily shouted. He didn't think that Lin Ling would be the first to come and kill him. A giant staff appeared in his hand. With the strength of a world, he wanted to roll over Lin Ling. He was also a first-stage World King with a stable boundary, but Lin Ling wasn't. He was confident that Lin Ling wouldn't be able to block his staff. Bang! The sword and staff collided, the sound deafening. However, in the next moment, the powerhouse discovered that Lin Ling's world essence wasn't as stable as his. But, Lin Ling's body had a different kind of strength gushing out from him, supporting his sword. What is this? The powerhouse cried out in alarm. In the World King realm, world essence isn't the only thing that matters. Other domains can also be strengthened. Lin Ling lightly said. The sword in his hand slashed downwards, neither fast nor slow. Kacha. The power of vibration appeared. The giant staff began to crack apart. The powerhouse's pupils shrank and a sword mark appeared on his neck. His throat had been cut open. And this sword had borrowed the strength of the godly demon body to form a powerful attack. After all, the godly demon body was comparable to the strength of a world. It's your turn. Lin Ling chased after him. His blue and white robes fluttered in the wind like clouds. His sword slashed out once more. Heart of the flute sword form. This sword seemed slow, but it actually had its own rhythm to it. This was the ultimate sword Dao. Clang! The powerhouse on the other side couldn't block Lin Ling's sword and was also killed. In truth, his boundary was the same as Tai Tianyi's, but he wasn't much stronger. He was only relying on numbers. He died again. This boy is a bit strange. The remaining three looked as if they were facing a great enemy. They didn't think that just by fighting a guide, two of them would be cut down like vegetables. Don't meet him head-on. Someone roared out. Dragon painting finishing touch. A sword shot out, moving at the speed of a world. Just as that person finished speaking, his neck was pierced through by a sword. If we don't meet force with force, then in terms of speed, none of you can compare to me. Lin Ling lightly said. Then, he slashed out with his sword once more. As for the old man, as he watched Lin Ling fight several people like the Son of God, his pupils widened. This was because he had never seen such a strong first-stage World King before. Moreover, he discovered that not only was Lin Ling's mortal body formidable, but his worldly origin martial arts were also extremely fierce. His martial arts had likely reached the second level. It had to be known that the first stage of the World King realm was only the boundary of a second-stage worldly origin martial art. Look over here, moon in the water. At this time, a jade flute appeared in one of the powerhouse's hands. With a light blow, the surrounding space began to distort, like the reflection of a moon in a mirror. As for him, he also began to distort, making it difficult for others to distinguish between reality and illusion. Sun Jin, take this chance to kill him. The powerhouse immediately shouted out. This was because Lin Ling had entered the control of his worldly origin martial art. This move of his was a high-grade martial art, but he had cultivated it to the peak. It could be said to be both offensive and defensive. What is that? He's distorted. Fuck. On the ground, Shi Wenbo and the others' eyes trembled. They simply couldn't understand a battle of this level. It was too strong. Brat, prepare to die. Die. Another powerhouse took this chance to attack. Chapter 2337. Battle World King Second Stage. It's useless, I can distort everything. This sword was aimed at the flute-playing powerhouse. He sneered, but his smile soon froze. This was because he discovered that although the sword was also distorted, it was still able to pierce through the chaotic space and shoot straight towards him. Impossible. The powerhouse's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. This was because the sword was no longer straight and was twisted from side to side. If so, then how could the sword wielder know who he was trying to assassinate? This feeling was like grabbing onto a rope. The rope was twisted and powerless, making it impossible to use the rope to assassinate his opponent. But in the next moment, a sword mark appeared on his neck. This sword strike told him that all of this was possible. As a swordsman, if you can't even see your own sword, then how can you talk about practicing the sword? Lin Ling appeared in front of him at the same time, his sword pointing at his neck. Lin Ling possessed the myriad demon eyes, so playing with space distortions in front of him was useless. Shua. Then, Lin Ling threw the person on his sword aside. Without even looking behind him, he slashed out with his sword. The powerhouse behind him attacked, but it was too late. The great saber in his hand bloomed with thunder, crackling like lightning. But before he could cut down Lin Ling had cut him in half. Now, you are the only one left. Lin Ling's eyes also fell on the old man. The old man floated in the skies, his eyes sweeping over the dead man. His pupils became increasingly dignified. Before, he didn't think that Lin Ling could win. This was because they had more people and also because he was at the second stage of the World King realm. But now, Lin Ling had told him that the advantage of numbers was no longer there. My evaluation of you is already very high, but I clearly underestimated you. I thought that your most fierce aspect was your familiarity with the 8 gods' heavenly palace, but I didn't know that your most fierce aspect was your monstrous growth rate. The old man slowly said, causing Lin Ling to shake his head. Although you praise me, I will not underestimate you. I know, because a genius like you who rose from the myriad worlds must have experienced many twists and turns, rich battle experience, and always calm. Moreover, I also know that you want to use me to test the limits of your battle strength. Then, let's fight. The old man was clearly quite famous in the martial god realm. He did not panic, but instead released a terrifying aura. Thank you. Lin Ling nodded his head lightly. He gripped his sword and prepared to fight. Boom! Boom! Above the desert, an intense battle broke out. The two of them fought from the ground to the sky, and from the sky to the ground. Even the sand beasts hidden underground were shaken to death. The more the old man fought, the more shocked he became. He had cultivated for 5,000 years and fought countless battles. He had even taught tens of thousands of disciples. Therefore, he had always wanted to find Lin Ling's weakness. However, he discovered that Lin Ling was too perfect. Lin Ling was strong in every domain. He had no idea where to start. Sometimes, just as he found Lin Ling's weakness, Lin Ling would make up for it in the next moment. Most importantly, Lin Ling began to comprehend his martial arts. This kind of guy was really abnormal. His comprehension ability was too terrifying. If this continues, he will only become stronger. I must use my ultimate technique, otherwise, I will definitely lose. After another collision, the old man immediately floated back. A mysterious copper lamp appeared above his head. The wick of the lamp was burning, emitting a strange light that enveloped the old man's body. Looks like you are prepared to fight to the death, but you are not burning your realm essence. On the other side, Lin Ling looked at the old man indifferently. Not everyone is very powerful when burning their realm essence. If there is a trump card stronger than burning realm essence, then why would you burn your realm essence? Shake. The old man shook his head. Your eyesight is fierce. You don't seem like a genius that has just risen up, but instead like a powerhouse that has seen a great deal of the world. Thus, I won't hide it from you. This is the painting mystic tendon lamp art. Once the lamp appears, the painting will refine my tendons, turning my muscles and blood vessels into world tendons. Shake. This cultivation method is truly mysterious. Moreover, there shouldn't be any side effects. No wonder you don't burn your realm essence. Shake. Lin Ling's eyes flashed with surprise. Even so, he lightly said. This is the strongest low-level second-level martial art. With this martial art, as long as I am on the same boundary as a martial artist, I will be invincible. Shake. The old man's clothes tore apart. His muscles were like dragons, twisting like fried dough. It was a shocking sight. In an instant, he had transformed into a muscular man. Moreover, he instantly grew taller, reaching 10 meters in height. The strength of his realm essence was terrifying. World-opening giant. Staring at this tall and sturdy old man, Shi Wenba and the others only had this thought. This meant that before a world was born, there was a powerhouse that forcefully tore apart that world, allowing that world to grow into a stable sky. And in order to accomplish this, one undoubtedly needed a formidable strength. The powerhouses of martial god world are truly terrifying. If that old man were placed in my world, he would have been able to easily kill everyone. Shi Wenba muttered to himself. His horizons had been broadened. Lin Ling is still the fiercest. He can actually fight with that old man until now. The young girl beside him also had an even richer look of worship in her eyes. Bang! A terrifying aura surged outwards. Smoke and fog filled the air. A giant stood in the middle of the fog. Lin Ling, if you cannot block my martial art, then you will die. Bang! After this voice, the desert exploded. Sand rained down like rain. A figure shot towards Lin Ling like a bolt of lightning. Very quickly. This giant seemed tall and sturdy, but his speed was also astonishing. As for Lin Ling, he calmly stood in the skies. In his pupils, the thick flames of war began to boil. After reaching the first level of the World King realm, this was indeed his most intense battle. Shua! The tyrannical song sword was raised high by Lin Ling. As he looked at this modeled ancient sword, his smile became even wider. This sword had followed him for a long time. It had been filled with blood and sweat, life and death. These were rare memories. Old friend, you never thought that we would fight side by side in martial god world. Lin Ling smiled. He gently danced with his sword. Although his speed seemed slow, the skies were actually filled with sword shadows. All sorts of sword martial arts bloomed in a dazzling light. What are those swords? On the ground, everyone cried out in alarm. Those are the sword skills he cultivated. Shi Wenba solemnly spat out. His fists were tightly clenched. He never thought that the disparity between him and Lin Ling would be so great. He was unwilling to accept this. There are at least several 100 million sword skills there. How did he cultivate them all? How could he cultivate so many sword skills? On the side, the young girl's voice trembled. She finally understood why Lin Ling was so strong. This was his accumulation. Lin Ling's martial arts accumulation had surpassed their imaginations. Are you going to dance with your sword before you die? At the same time, the old man angrily shouted. Lin Ling was facing off against his powerful martial arts, but he was actually dancing with his sword. This was simply seeking death. Pop! 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 His fist punched out. His arm was like a dragon, his muscles and bones twisting like fried dough. Although his mortal body wasn't strong, the suppressed power of his world essence was terrifying. He wanted to kill Lin Ling with a single punch. This punch was like two worlds rushing towards the skies. Chapter 2338. There would be no next time. This was the first time he had fought a second-level World King powerhouse. Although he didn't know this old man's name, his strength far surpassed that of all the great commanders in the Martial God Battalion. Blade Mountain Sword Tree. A roar came from Lin Ling's mouth. A terrifying sword ruthlessly slashed down. This sword carried with it Lin Ling's hot-bloodedness, fighting spirit, and even a powerful goal. This was the first time it had been revealed in the martial god world. A dazzling, profound character appeared in the skies. His fighting spirit boiled like the sea. The first stroke of the profound character was as dazzling as a blazing sun. Bang! On the ground, the desert exploded. It was like someone had struck the earth with their palm, pushing all the sand in all directions, finally forming a terrifying sandstorm. And this was the might of that sword. Profound sword record. The old man's pupils fiercely shook. He clearly recognized this sword. Not bad, this sword's might is also in the low second-grade range. In fact, it is an invincible sword in this martial art grade. A meteor-like light smashed down from the skies, accompanied by an angry roar. The old man's complexion instantly paled. Although they were at the same level, the profound sword record was clearly stronger. On the surface, this martial art was a low second-grade martial art. But, many people knew that the truth was that its grade was much higher. This was because from the fourth level onwards, many people were unable to cultivate it. It was because of this that others had determined it to be in the second-grade range. And in order to cultivate the moves after the fourth level, it was rumored that one had to comprehend the ultimate sword Dao. You have already comprehended the ultimate sword Dao. If I, Nanshan Nan, can die beneath this sword, then I will have no regrets. In the skies, the old man was suppressed by a tremendous aura. His muscles and bones exploded and blood rained down like rain. This was because that sword also carried with it the power of chaos. Lin Ling, everyone has underestimated you. I have a feeling that in the three great academies of Azure Province, you will bloom with a monstrous light. Bang! Following the old man's final words, his body completely exploded and turned into dust. Thank you, Senior Nanshan Nan. As for Lin Ling, he was still floating in the air. He breathed heavily, but the fighting spirit in his eyes boiled even more. He had won this battle. His strength was enough to contend with a second-stage World King powerhouse. Nanshan Nan, he's Nanshan Nan, one of the sect masters of the Nanshan 13 sects of the martial god realm that guards the southern region. At this moment, everyone on the ground was in a daze. They never imagined that the old man was such a terrifying existence. This was because this person was a true titan. Even though he couldn't compare to the old monsters, he was still a godlike existence in the myriad worlds. After all, this person had appeared in the southern world before, and in order to avenge his disciple, he had massacred the 36 worlds. Such a powerful person would have countless disciples. In fact, some of the guides would be proud to be able to join the South Mountain sect. And now, one of the leaders of the South Mountain sect had been defeated by a rising star. Furthermore, this person was the guide that they had always been jealous of. Bang bang bang. Ma Nan and the others all sat on the ground, their faces pale. They knew what kind of existence they had provoked. Bang! At the same time, Lin Ling floated down. Lord Lin Ling, spare my life. Spare my life. Ma Nan and the others stared at the blue-robed youth and began to kowtow madly. At this moment, they were filled with regret. This was because they had regarded the experts of the martial god realm as seniors, or even half a master. They had hoped that those seniors would take a liking to them, but they had never imagined that Lin Ling was actually one of those seniors. Even if they had a good relationship with Lin Ling, so what if Lin Ling gave them some pointers? Bang bang bang. The sound of kowtowing continued. Even though Ma Nan and the others were afraid, they felt even more regret from the bottom of their hearts. This was because they had missed out on something. We all came from the myriad worlds, so why must we kill each other? We all came from the same place, and it's not easy for each other. Sigh. Lin Ling slowly sheathed his sword and looked at them indifferently. However, there was no killing intent in his eyes. To him, these people were simply not worthy of his attention. Of course, the most important thing was that Lin Ling saw his past self in them. At that time, he was blind in the ancient face sect, but he still did his best to become stronger. It was because of these reasons that Lin Ling decided to spare them this time. It's good to become stronger, but don't violate your own principles. You can go. I'll make an exception and not kill you today, but there won't be a next time. Sigh. Shaking his head, Lin Ling carried his sword on his back and set off again like a lonely swordsman. Looking at the lonely and proud back, Ma Nan and the others' eyes were moist. Lin Ling had the same origin as them, but he did not violate his own principles. He did not abandon everything and kill the innocent in order to become stronger. Senior Lin Ling, thank you for not killing us. Sigh. Ma Nan kowtowed heavily in Lin Ling's direction. He had never been convinced in his life. Even when he met Tai Tianyi, it was just a false flattery. However, this was the first time he was convinced by Lin Ling. Lin Ling, wait for me. Sigh. Shi Wenba's mood was complicated, but he quickly chased after him. Seeing Shi Wenba chasing after him, Ma Nan hesitated for a moment, then suddenly shouted, Lord Lin Ling, Lu Yi was killed by him, be careful of him. Careful. Unfortunately, before he could finish his words, the people beside him stopped him. This was because they did not know the relationship between Lin Ling and Shi Wenba. If they said something wrong, others would think that they were trying to sow discord. Lin Ling also came from the myriad world, but his strength is very strong. In this plan, his strength is above average. Careful. We must use him as our goal to become stronger. Careful. I, Ma Nan, will remember today's kindness and will definitely repay it in the future. Careful. Then, they also left, but they secretly swore. On the other side, Lin Ling and Shi Wenba were walking forward. Shi Wenba looked at Lin Ling with a complicated expression and said, Lin Ling, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. Careful. It's just luck. Careful. Lin Ling shook his head and smiled. In fact, when he had just become a guide, his strength was already not weak. Then, Lin Ling pondered and said, This earth elemental land is too dangerous, it's not suitable for you, so follow me, I'll take you out. Careful. Leave this place. But there are many treasures here. Frown. Shi Wenba frowned and said, as if he was unwilling. Treasures should be used according to one's ability. On the path of martial arts, one has to take one step at a time. If you want to soar to the sky, many times it depends on luck. Lin Ling advised. He felt that Shi Wenba was a little different from his impression. This thin and weak man's eyes were not as pure as before, there was a hint of fighting spirit. Of course, Lin Ling did not think too much about it. Listen to senior brother Lin Ling, he's definitely right. Yes. The girl beside him immediately said, causing Lin Ling to look at her. The girl's face instantly turned red, looking somewhat cute. She obviously did not dare to look at Lin Ling, which made Lin Ling smile helplessly. Okay, then we'll follow you. Yes. Chapter 2339. Ancient Desert Tower. Alright, I'll protect all of you along the way. Yes. Lin Ling smiled and nodded. In reality, his next goal was to go to the spacetime divine steel. It wasn't suitable for him to bring these people along, but these people weren't strong enough. Even if they wanted to harm him, they wouldn't be able to. Moreover, if they continued to stay here, they would definitely die. That was why Lin Ling brought them along. Moreover, Shi Wenbo had given Lin Ling a good impression in the beginning. That was the main reason. Lin Ling followed his memory and headed toward the spacetime divine steel as they walked forward. Flames and smoke rose into the long river, and the round sun set in the desert. The desert seemed to have no end, and it gave off a desolate and bleak feeling. Rumble. At that moment, there was a rumble in the distance, and smoke rose into the sky. It seemed that a fierce battle was taking place there. Lin Ling frowned in the distance. That was where the spacetime divine steel was. It seemed that the spacetime divine steel had been discovered. This was a little troublesome for Lin Ling. However, he wasn't worried that the spacetime divine steel would be stolen. That was because the spacetime divine steel would forever belong to him, Lin Ling. Follow me. Remember, don't let those elites notice you. Yes. Lin Ling reminded them and walked forward quickly. The others followed. Among them, Shi Wenbo looked into the distance, and there was a burning light in the depths of his eyes. There seemed to be treasures there. If he could get them, he wouldn't be a lowly guide. He wanted to be like Lin Ling and be worshipped by others. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The rumbling became louder and louder. It was as if thunder had struck the sand, causing waves of sand to rise into the sky. When they got closer, they first saw a large number of ancient and model towers. They seemed to be used by ancient people to comprehend martial arts. As they walked forward, they saw a large number of huge ancient towers sitting on the ground. They looked like Buddhist pagodas, but also like sacrificial pagodas. Mysterious auras emanated from the numerous pagodas, letting them know that this place was definitely extraordinary. There were a large number of figures in the ruins of the ancient pagodas. Get lost. Yes. A furious roar suddenly rang out, and the sand that filled the sky danced. Everywhere it passed, many people were directly turned into skeletons, and all the blood in their bodies was sucked away. The people who appeared here were guides, cannon fodder, and experts from various major forces. However, the person who attacked was Luo Sha Ci. This person was one of the 9 heavens of Qing province. His strength could be ranked 3rd in this plan. Treasures belong to those who are capable. Luo Sha Thorn, the treasures here are not yours. At this moment, a whistling sound came from the sky. Dazzling bone wings streaked across the horizon like a sun. The sun bone had arrived. Another one of the 9 great heavens of Qingzhou. Sun bone, let's fight. The winner gets the treasure. Luo Sha Thorn raised his head, knowing that a battle was inevitable. As a result, a conflict broke out between the 2 terrifying existences. Not to be outdone, the surrounding experts began to search for treasures around the ancient pagoda ruins. The aura here is very mysterious. It seems to be a fire-type treasure. I feel that it's under the ground, and that treasure can emit an aura from the ground, so it must be extraordinary. Unfortunately, there are too many experts here. It's impossible to search the ground unless the 3 great leaders come. The 3 great leaders are fighting at the heaven-terminating sand. They are fighting over a set of battle armor. However, if they receive the news, they will definitely come here. Then we need to speed up. We need to get the treasure and leave before they come. Around the ancient pagoda, many people were talking. Their eyes were filled with greed. TSK, let's fight. It's best if both sides are injured. Let me be the fisherman and reap the benefits. In the distance, 2 rays of light appeared in the desert. It was the light of a pair of eyes. Then, the sand wriggled, and a demon-like figure crawled out. It was an old man with many needles sticking out of his back. It was Old Monster Lone Mountain. Soon, he sank into the desert again. The same thing happened on the other side. Queen Qianji was sitting on a huge scorpion with her legs crossed. She was smiling as she looked ahead. Looks like everyone wants to be the oriole behind the mantis stalking the cicada. She obviously noticed that there were many experts hiding around the ancient pagoda, waiting for the best opportunity. These old monsters were each more cunning than the other. Boom! Boom! The fierce battle was like the collapse of the heavens and the earth. Huge holes were blasted in the desert. Countless sand demons were implicated by the power and were blasted to death. At the same time, a stone pagoda collapsed. A treasure light shot into the sky. It was the light of colorful flames. The treasure is unearthed. Attack! Attack! The hidden experts' expressions changed drastically. They unleashed their auras and rushed toward the stone pagoda. Lin Ling, what is that light? In the distance, Lin Ling and the others were lying on the ground. They were watching the terrifying battle in the distance. Shi Wenbo exclaimed. Spacetime flame. Attack! Lin Ling's lips curled into a smile. He saw those flames again. Spacetime flame? What is that? Shi Wenbo turned to look at Lin Ling. Although he did not know what the spacetime flame was, it must be extraordinary if so many old monsters were fighting over it. The spacetime flame is one of the 9 primeval flames in the universe. It is the first flame in the universe since the birth of the universe. It is as famous as the other 8 primeval flames. It has existed since time immemorial and has not been extinguished for a long time. Lin Ling said calmly. Shi Wenbo and the others gasped. This was because the universal primal chaos was an even older spacetime than the martial god realm. It could be said that the universal primal chaos included the myriad of worlds, including the martial god realm. Before the myriad of worlds were born, the universal primal chaos had already existed. The universal primal chaos had appeared at the same time as the universal primal chaos. This meant that the universal primal chaos was the fire that had created the world, the ancestor of all fires. There are 9 primeval flames in the universe. The flames of the 10,000 worlds are derived from these 9 flames. The spacetime flame is the flame that burns time and space. Lin Ling seemed to be in high spirits because it was his right eye, the spacetime divine steel. On his path of martial arts, he had refined countless flames. He even had all kinds of flames in his body, such as the Yellow Springs flame. However, in terms of rank, the spacetime flame was the true king. Is the heavenly flame going to be taken by those old monsters? Shi Wenbo looked at Lin Ling and said. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. Don't worry, the spacetime flame won't appear so quickly. Look, there are still some old monsters hiding, thinking that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Unfortunately, the real oriole is here. Lin Ling said confidently. Shi Wenbo's expression changed. Lin Ling was so confident. Did Lin Ling know some secrets? However, that was indeed the case. Lin Ling had always been mysterious. His familiarity with the 8 gods' heavenly palace was beyond imagination. Lin Ling, I heard those old monsters talking. They don't seem to know what treasure is hidden here, but you know that the spacetime flame is here. So, can I make a request? Shi Wenbo looked at Lin Ling and said sincerely. Senior brother Shi Wenbo, what request do you want to make? The girl called Little Peach asked with a frown. Lin Ling also looked at Shi Wenbo in confusion. Chapter 2340. Race against the clock. Shi Wenbo pondered for a moment and said word by word, you know that I came from the myriad worlds. I have no background, and no talent that surpasses theirs. Therefore, this is my only chance. I want to become stronger. I want to bring glory to my ancestors. I don't want to be cannon fodder anymore. I want to be in charge of my own life. Therefore, Lin Ling, please help me. Although he did not know if Lin Ling had a way to obtain the flame, he still had a glimmer of hope. Senior brother Shi Wenba, this request is too difficult. Little Peach immediately exclaimed. How precious the space-time flame was could be seen from the excited expressions of those old monsters. However, Shi Wenba actually asked Lin Ling to help him obtain the flame. Not to mention whether Lin Ling could obtain it, even if he could, the process would not be easy. Moreover, such a precious thing should be obtained by Lin Ling first. Little Peach, you don't understand. Shi Wenba looked at Little Peach with red eyes and said, I have my enemies. I bear the hatred of the extermination of my clan, so I must become stronger. With that, he stood up and kowtowed to Lin Ling, rely on your parents at home and rely on your friends outside. Please. Bang. 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 His kowtow sounded from the bottom of his heart, causing the others to open their mouths, but in the end, they did not say anything. Rely on your parents at home and rely on your friends outside. Lin Ling muttered to himself. He had just met Shi Wenba, and the other party had said such a sentence to him, leaving him with a good impression. He smiled and said, all right, I'll try my best to help you obtain the space-time flame. However, the process is very dangerous. Do you dare to gamble? I dare. I'll gamble with my life. Shi Wenba immediately became excited. Hearing this, the eyes of Little Peach and the others flickered. Shi Wenba was gambling with his life, but if Lin Ling helped him obtain the flame, wouldn't that mean that Lin Ling was also gambling with his life? Moreover, Lin Ling did not want such a precious treasure himself and actually helped Shi Wenba obtain it. Lin Ling was willing to sacrifice himself for his friends. Little Peach and the others could not help but feel grateful. Since they had come to the merciless martial god realm, it was truly a good thing to make such a friend. Lin Ling, I owe you my life. Once it's done, you only need to say the word, and I'll do it for you regardless of where you go. Shi Wenba's face was filled with gratitude, but his eyes were filled with a thick ambition. After obtaining that wisp of space-time flame, he would also be able to dominate the martial god realm. Don't be too confident. Firstly, if we want to obtain that flame, we have to snatch it from the old monster's hands. Secondly, the space-time flame hasn't appeared yet. We need to wait patiently. Lin Ling asked Shi Wenba to lie down again as he stared ahead. In truth, he was also waiting. However, he wasn't waiting for the flames of time and space. He was waiting for the divine steel of time and space. Because that was the flame seed. The space-time divine steel was left behind by Li Xiaoyao. Even if he gave it to Shi Wenba, he would not be able to obtain it. Therefore, Lin Ling did not mention it. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the battle in the ancient pagoda ruins became more and more intense. Because of the collapse of an ancient pagoda, many hidden old monsters also moved out. However, they discovered that they could not obtain the flame. It was like the moon in the water. This made them think that the other party had stopped them, causing them to miss the flame. Yang Shengwu, you've caused me a lot of trouble. You're the one. Boom. 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 Those old monsters clashed again, and their attacks were earth-shattering. However, a moment later, another ancient pagoda collapsed. This time, the flames gushing out from the bottom of the pagoda were even more dazzling. This time, we must obtain it. Boom. Seeing this, the old monsters who had yet to make a move became even more excited. Boom. Boom. Boom! Like lightning flashing across the sky, figures flew toward the ancient pagoda. Lin Ling, they're going to obtain the spacetime flame. Let's go quickly. Hurry. On a distant sand dune, Shi Wenbo became more and more excited and could not help but say. Senior brother Shi Wenbo, those experts are all there. How can we get close? Little Peach could not help but say. This was sending them to their deaths. Shi Wenbo immediately smiled awkwardly. I'm a little anxious. Huh. Lin Ling did not say anything. He was still staring ahead. He knew that it was also a fake spacetime flame. However, because of the battle between the experts, the spacetime divine steel was slowly rising from the ground. This was also the reason why he was waiting here quietly. Because he needed more power to destroy those ancient pagodas and let him find the Tushi Tower. That was the most important thing. At this moment, his blood was boiling. He was somewhat excited. Boom! 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 The second time the stone pagoda fell, it attracted even more experts. However, they realized that they were only the mantis, not the oriole. This time, even Queen Qianji appeared. Unfortunately, she could only see the flame and could not see it. She was so angry that she clenched her teeth. Fight! As time passed, the experts knew that they could not force themselves. The more they hid, the more likely they would miss something. Boom! Boom! Rumble! More and more ancient pagodas began to collapse, and the sand on the ground was rolling. Follow me. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling's eyes finally lit up. He led Shi Wenbo and the others to an ancient pagoda with 3 fangs carved on it. That ancient pagoda seemed to be extremely stable. It had not collapsed even now. In the ancient pagoda, there were battles everywhere. Therefore, no one noticed them for a while. The Tushi Tower is said to be the pagoda that suppresses the hell worm. This pagoda is the king of all pagodas. In the distance, the desert began to wriggle as a demon-like figure crawled out. It was old eccentric Lone Mountain. His eyes glowed with a demonic green light. Suddenly, he saw that within the ancient pagoda, several ants were using the chaotic battle to sneak around. Most importantly, he recognized one of them. That brat is very familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. If I catch him, I'll probably find out what treasures are buried here. Old Monster Lone Mountain revealed a sinister smile and sank into the sand. Faster. At this moment, Lin Ling quickened his pace. His expression was solemn. His life and death were at stake here. Behind him, Shi Wenbo was even more excited. For the sake of treasures, he had completely forgotten about their safety. Stop. You guides, are you looking to die? In front of the ancient pagoda, several experts blocked the way. When they saw Lin Ling and the others, they immediately shouted angrily. They did not expect that these guides would dare to take advantage of a place where the old monsters were fighting. Lin Ling, not good. Shi Wenbo anxiously shouted and quickly hid behind Lin Ling. Lin Ling did not say a word. His right hand quickly pulled out the Tyrant Song sword, and his left foot fiercely stomped on the ground. Boom! The earth exploded and the sky shook. His left foot stepped out with a boundary energy, causing a pillar of light to shoot into the sky. Among the group of people, 2 of them were sent flying into the sky. It was unknown whether they were alive or dead. The other people's expressions changed drastically. They did not expect the newcomers to be so strong. Were they not guides? You're looking to die. One of them also pulled out a cold sword. When the sword was unsheathed, frost appeared. Beautiful snowflakes drifted out of the desert. In order to kill those guides, this person did not hesitate to use his own boundary energy. Clang! His sword stabbed out in the wind and snow. However, even though he was fast, Lin Ling was faster. Chapter 23:41. If you don't go crazy, you won't survive. The tyrannical Song Sword's dragon energy was also stimulated. Dragon painting finishing touch. This sword was extremely fast, as if it was passing through a world. Xiao. A beautiful flower of blood floated out, rippling in the wind and snow. It was immediately frozen into a blood-colored ice cube. Put on. The person who attacked fell on his back, the sword pierced through his forehead. What a fast sword! Almost at the same time, his voice floated out. It was obvious that the sword's speed surpassed his voice. It's Lin Ling. How can he be so strong? The remaining people's faces changed. They were only hiding around the ancient tower to see if they could take advantage of the situation. After seeing Lin Ling, they subconsciously looked down on Lin Ling. This was because Lin Ling was a guide. But now, they knew that they had been tricked by Lin Ling. Kill him. The remaining people erupted with their full strength. Their realm essence blasted out like thunder. It's him. Although the battle on Lin Ling's side wasn't too intense, there were still people who noticed him. Suddenly, the people in the distance sucked in a breath of cold air. They finally knew how strong Lin Ling was. Even Thousand Tools Queen looked at Lin Ling in surprise. After entering the second level, this was the first time she had seen Lin Ling. That brat is still alive. What a tough guy. On the other side, the blue-clothed old man was also fighting with an old monster. He was surprised. He's not dead yet. Sun Bone, I think we should stop fighting and capture that ant first. Luo Xiaothorn and Sun Bone's battle also stopped. They coldly stared at Lin Ling. Blade Mountain Sword Tree. At this moment, Lin Ling knew that he had been exposed. Thus, he had to end this battle quickly. Pang! His body leapt into the air, and the giant sword ruthlessly chopped down like an axe. At this moment, the sand was cut apart. Ultimate Sword Dao. Bang! The sword crazily collided with the realm essences of the people below, shocking the entire battlefield. He's so strong. He can fight 3 World King powerhouses by himself, and one of them is even at the second level of the World King realm. That shocking scene was like a bolt from the blue, causing many people to widen their eyes. Puff! After fighting 3 people in a row, Lin Ling immediately sensed a terrifying power feedback, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. However, beneath his sword, 2 powerhouses were directly shaken to death. The remaining second-level World King powerhouse was even stronger. At this time, he was looking at Lin Ling with shock. However, he could also sense that Lin Ling had exhausted all of his strength. Thus, his hand turned into a claw and he ruthlessly grasped out. Spirit Dust Spike. The space was sliced into pieces. That claw was so terrifying. With Lin Ling's current strength, he could defeat a second-level World King powerhouse. But before this, he had been fighting 1 against 3. Thus, when that claw reached out, he seemed unstoppable. Puff! His chest was immediately pierced through and blood splattered onto the sand. Ugh! Seeing this, the distant Thousand Opportunities Queen frowned. As for the blue-clothed old man, he sighed. He was surprised by Lin Ling's terrifying strength, but he also regretted that Lin Ling had encountered too many opponents. A single Lu Yin can kill so many powerhouses. Even if you die, it's a glorious death. The man who attacked maintained his clawing posture and sneered at the moment. Heart Flute Sword Form. However, he discovered that Lin Ling's eyes were still looking at him. They were cold, so cold that it pierced into his heart. Killing 1,000 enemies but injuring 800 of his own. Lin Ling had actually chosen to risk his life like this. He had risked his life to get close to him, all for the sake of using that sword. Not good. The man immediately reacted. He wanted to frantically retreat. Too late. However, Lin Ling had already unsheathed his sword. With a horizontal slash, a head flew out. After the head fell to the ground, the eyes on the head were filled with disbelief. Seeing this, Thousand Opportunities Queen and the blue-clothed old man could not help but laugh. They had underestimated Lin Ling. Lin Ling, you're injured. At this moment, Shi Wenbo and the others ran over. Little Peach's eyes were filled with worry. Don't worry about that. Follow me. Follow me. However, Lin Ling did not care about the wound on his chest. He quickly ran forward. With every movement, the sand on the ground splashed onto his chest. Seeing this, Little Peach could not help but feel touched. Lin Ling had killed all the enemies. If it were not for Lin Ling, they would have been dead by now. Are you going to get the time fire? Follow me. As for Shi Wenbo, he asked anxiously. It seemed that he did not care about Lin Ling's injury at all. Follow me. Cut the crap. Follow me. However, Lin Ling shouted angrily. Little Peach and the others were puzzled. The enemies were already defeated. Why was Lin Ling in such a hurry? They could not help but turn around. Immediately, they saw many old monsters looking at them with cold eyes. Lin Ling's familiarity with the Eight Gods' heavenly palace was obvious to all. Naturally, there would be many people who were eyeing him covetously. We've been exposed. Little Peach. Little Peach said anxiously. She quickly chased after Lin Ling. At this moment, Lin Ling was not worried about the old monsters in the distance. It was the underground that made him anxious. With his sharp soul power, he could sense that there was a terrifying murderous aura coming from underground. It had locked on to them. Therefore, he had to race against time. Although he knew that he would be in danger if he was exposed. However, he was not risking his life to help Shi Wenbo. It was because of the time and space divine steel. He had to enter that pagoda. If he did not go crazy, he would not survive. If he wanted something, he had to abandon life and death and fight crazily. Rumble. The ground began to tremble. It was as if something was about to rush out from the sand. It had already formed a small sandbag. Sensing the fluctuations of boundary energy behind him, Lin Ling's expression became even more solemn. Boom! Finally, at this moment, the sand exploded and filled the sky. A figure shot over like a porcupine. It was as fast as lightning. Lin Ling could clearly see that it was Old Monster Lone Mountain. Kiki, brat, you've finally fallen into my hands. A cold and gloomy voice drifted out along with the scorching hot sand. Bang! However, at this moment, a figure appeared. It was as if he had been hiding behind Lin Ling. An arm stretched out from the blue cloak. The arm was as smooth as jade, and the 5 fingernails were scarlet red. With a slight movement, a huge mirror appeared. Boom! Old Monster Lone Mountain did not expect someone to suddenly appear. He crashed into the mysterious mirror and was sent flying. It's you. After Old Monster Lone Mountain stabilized himself, he could not help but frown. The person who appeared behind Lin Ling was the most mysterious cloaked figure, Void. Go immediately. Void did not look at Lin Ling. Instead, he said coldly. Why? Lin Ling said as he looked at the back of the figure. Wen Dao. Void pondered for a moment and spat out 2 words. Lin Ling's eyes flashed with shock. Wen Dao? Could it be Grandma Wen Dao? This person is Grandma Wen Dao's subordinate? He was shocked. After leaving the rainforest sacred ground, he had not seen Grandma Wendao. Could it be that Grandma Wendao had returned to the martial god realm? Thanks. Lin Ling did not say anything and immediately moved forward. Void was still looking at Old Monster Lone Mountain. He did not move, but his attitude made it clear that he was helping Lin Ling. Since you dared to ruin my plans, die. Chapter 2342. Entering the Tu-Shi Ancient Pagoda. Boom. 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 Two experts with monstrous strength clashed, causing another fierce battle to take place in the ancient pagoda ruins. At this moment, the ancient pagoda ruins could be said to be filled with fireworks. Intense battles were happening in every corner. Of course, there were also people with evil intentions who started shooting towards Lin Ling. However, it was clearly too late. Because Lin Ling had already reached the bottom of the ancient pagoda. The pagoda was very tall, and the 6 walls were engraved with the image of a demon god with 3 heads and 6 arms. Most importantly, the pagoda had no door. Lin Ling, not good, there are people rushing over from that side. Hurry. Little Peach anxiously said, her voice trembling. Lin Ling nodded, his face was unprecedentedly cold. He walked around the ancient pagoda, and finally stopped at one of the directions. His hand started to form spirit formation seals. Scarlet Wind Seal. Hurry. Sorcerer Seal. Hurry. After each spirit formation was engraved, Lin Ling heavily slammed the walls. At this moment, Shi Wenbo and the others were staring at Lin Ling. They never would have thought that Lin Ling still had such a method. Lin Ling, obediently tell me what treasures are in this ancient pagoda ruins. Hurry. You seem to be very familiar with the 8 gods' heavenly palace. I think you will bring me to the final floor. Follow me. Come with me. If you take me to those places, I will protect you. Hurry. Many old monsters had already rushed over. In their eyes, Lin Ling already had nowhere to run. At this moment, Lin Ling coldly looked at them, then heavily slammed the wall with his palm. Huh, want to catch me? Old men, your movements are too slow. Hurry. With his slap, the wall in front of him loudly opened, and a large bronze door appeared. Seeing this, those old monsters were all stunned. When they reacted, they could only watch as Lin Ling entered the ancient pagoda. Little bastard. Anger. Angry voices immediately drifted out. They rushed forward and madly attacked the ancient pagoda. However, they discovered that this ancient pagoda was extremely extraordinary. It actually didn't move an inch. How could they know that Lin Ling had been looking for this pagoda all this time? Naturally, this pagoda couldn't be compared to other pagoda. After Lin Ling entered the ancient pagoda, he immediately discovered that it was filled with dust. Some books and ancient treasures were scattered on the ground. Of course, there was also a corpse. The corpse looked like an old monk who had passed away in meditation. It was wearing an ancient kasaya. Lin Ling looked at the corpse and his eyes flickered. So it was him. It seemed like he had also entered this place. Unfortunately, he was unable to break through the restrictions of the ancient pagoda. He could only enter but could not leave. In the end, he died of old age here. Li Xiaoyao also knew that person. In fact, that person had fought with Li Xiaoyao in the Earth Elemental Land. However, that person had disappeared. Shaking his head, Lin Ling didn't bother with the corpse. Lin Ling, is it safe here? Little Peach and the others glanced at the dark ancient tower before turning to Lin Ling. It's safe. At least, it's not something they can break through. Lin Ling replied with a smile. Thinking back to the race against time, he still felt like he was in a dream. It was indeed very dangerous. You guys can collect all the treasures here. After that, Lin Ling stared at the crowd and said. They all belong to us? That's great. Everyone was pleasantly surprised. In fact, many of these books were cultivation techniques. That was why Lin Ling didn't need them. Lin Ling, where's the fire of time? Shi Wenbo wasn't interested in the cultivation techniques around him. He looked at Lin Ling expectantly. Lin Ling shook his head. Since you're here, you've already obtained the fire of time. Now, let's take a break. Thank you for before. I know I was too anxious and selfish. This is my fault. You should rest and recover quickly. Shi Wenbo only just realized that Lin Ling was seriously injured. He immediately said gratefully. At home I rely on my parents, outside I rely on my friends. Lin Ling casually smiled. Then, he sat down and began to recover from his wounds. Before this, if it weren't for his divinity in demon body greatly increasing his defensive capabilities, then he would have lost the strength to fight. After all, he was only at the first level of the World King realm. He could fight a second-level World King, but he couldn't fight several people in a row. As for Little Peach and the others, as they looked at Lin Ling, they felt warmth in their hearts. Lin Ling had asked them to follow him and promised to protect them as they left. But, Lin Ling had kept his word. This was a man who made a promise worth 1,000 gold coins. After a moment, Lin Ling stood up and looked around the pagoda. Finally, he smiled as he found an ancient and modeled compass. He immediately placed it on the ground and poured his world essence into it. Bang! A multicolored beam of light shot out from the compass, causing Lin Ling's hair to dance in the wind. An image appeared in the beam of light. This was a man fighting in the earth elemental ground. He swept away an army of thousands, slaughtering many god beasts and sand monsters. The entire earth elemental ground was stirred up by him. How fierce! Who is this person? The others gathered around. As they were curious, they also discovered that Lin Ling seemed to be very familiar with this ancient pagoda. This person is Li Xiaoyao. Lin Ling deeply looked at the man in the beam of light, ripples appearing in his heart. This beam of light recorded the scenes of this battle in his past life. However, no one here recognized Li Xiaoyao. Little Peach, do you see that stone sculpture? Lin Ling put away his nostalgic thoughts and looked at a stone sculpture on the wall. This stone sculpture was of a 3-headed and 6-armed demon god. It was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, causing one's heart to palpitate. I see it. Little Peach immediately nodded. Pour your realm essence into the stone sculpture and let it continue to shine. Lin Ling instructed. He wanted to open the Tu-Shi Tower, and one of the reasons why he asked Little Peach and the others to follow him was because he needed their help. This was because the pagoda had 6 floors, and each floor had a stone sculpture. The stone sculpture had to be activated. This way, the compass would be able to find the divine steel of time and space and begin to summon it. Okay. Little Peach did not hesitate. She walked forward and urged her realm essence, causing the stone sculpture to gradually shine. Remember, don't let the light extinguish. Lin Ling said again, and led the group to the 2nd floor. There were also stone sculptures there, and Lin Ling asked the others to light up the stone sculptures. The layers of stone sculptures gradually lit up. Until the 6th floor. The person who lit up this floor was Shi Wenbo. Wait a little longer, the fire of time will appear. Lin Ling first reassured Shi Wenbo, and then he went to the window of the ancient pagoda. This pagoda had 6 windows, and through the windows, one could see the battle outside the pagoda. At this moment, the battle outside the pagoda was even more intense, and many people were attacking the ancient pagoda, their faces filled with anger. This was because Lin Ling, this weak junior, seemed to be toying with them again. Among this group of monstrous old monsters, there was a huge wave of shock. Previously, you guys were arrogant enough. Now, it's my turn to act. Lin Ling looked down at the outside of the pagoda. At this moment, he was like the ghost genius Li Xiaoyao who had returned. Tu Shi Tower, the ancient pagoda that suppressed the hell worm, wake up. When the stone sculptures on the 6th floor of the ancient pagoda lit up, Lin Ling took out the compass, and urged it with his realm essence. Chapter 23:43. The descent of the 8 hell corpse worms. An aura that seemed to have come from hell quietly permeated the area. Something is wrong, the surroundings have become very quiet. Even the sound of sand flowing has disappeared. What happened? Not good, something is approaching us. At this moment, the eyes of many old monsters in the ancient tower narrowed. They were powerful, so their intuition told them that a terrifying danger was approaching. However, they didn't know what it was. As for those weaker cultivators, they also began to panic. Something that could make those old monsters reveal such a fearful expression, they were afraid that something ominous was about to happen. Zzzt zzzt zzzt. At this moment, the sand on the ground was like boiling water. Gradually, worms crawled out from the sand. Ah, what is this? It is entering my body. At the same time, miserable cries rang out. Some martial artists fell to the ground, unable to get up. They rolled around in pain and even tore apart their clothes and skin, revealing their bloody flesh. It's the 8 hell corpse worms. Old Monster Lone Mountain and Sun Bone exclaimed at the same time. The 8 hell corpse worms were demonic insects that guarded hell. Before coming to the 8 gods' heavenly palace, they had already seen how terrifying these demonic insects were. However, they disappeared without a trace, so they temporarily forgot about it. Why did these 8 hell corpse worms suddenly appear? Many experts exclaimed. They were beginning to panic. They no longer had the dominating aura from before. The old man's expression greatly changed. He knew that the situation on the battlefield had changed. Whether it was the mantis or the oriole, they had all become cicadas at this moment. However, he was also puzzled as to why these 8 hell corpse worms suddenly appeared. Suddenly, he looked at one of the ancient pagodas. He saw a young man in a blue and white robe standing indifferently at the window of the highest floor of the ancient pagoda. He seemed to be watching everything as if it had nothing to do with him. Could it be him? The old man's mind rumbled. Was it Lin Ling? Almost at the same time, he noticed that Lin Ling was also looking at him. Moreover, the corner of Lin Ling's mouth slightly moved as he silently said something. "Senior, leave immediately." "Senior." This sentence made the old man realize that it was indeed Lin Ling. Lin Ling had begun his counterattack. In fact, it wasn't just him. Even Hollow had been reminded by Lin Ling, which made the cloaked man's expression very complicated. After meeting Lin Ling, he had never thought of Lin Ling as some kind of expert. And Lin Ling was being held hostage by the old freaks, so he couldn't cause any big waves. But now, this weak junior actually had the ability to dominate the battlefield. However, he didn't think too much about it and immediately left. However, his departure did not mean that the others would leave so easily. Old Devil Lone Mountain and the others also discovered Lin Ling in the ancient pagoda. They were all furious. Was Lin Ling trying to harm them? "Die, brat!" Lone Mountain angrily roared, causing the entire battlefield to tremble. He shot towards the ancient pagoda like a cannonball. "It's him. Since it's him, he's trying to harm us. Kill him." Many old monsters also let out cold voices and attacked one after another. "Old man, don't get angry too easily. Otherwise, you'll die even faster." In the ancient pagoda, Lin Ling still stood there and indifferently spat out a sentence. "Chi chi chi." Almost as soon as his voice fell, shadows shot out from the desert. These ghost-like shadows seemed to like chasing people. The more powerful the realm essence erupted, the more these shadows were attracted. The shadows were only as thick as a thumb. Their wings flapped like fireflies, and they quickly appeared in front of Lone Mountain and the others. A pair of demonic eyes stared indifferently at everyone. Those eyes seemed to be able to speak. 8 hell corpse worms. Lone Mountain and the others exclaimed. At this moment, they were somewhat afraid. Because those corpse worms were clearly different. They were probably the king of corpse worms. Careful! An old monster shouted. He wanted to retreat. However, this retreat was obviously too late. Xiao xiao xiao. Those corpse worms shot forward like arrows. Boom boom boom. Seeing this, the powerhouses erupted with powerful attacks. Their faces paled. However, after the realm essence attack, not only did the corpse worms not die, but they even let out cheerful cries. They directly passed through the realm essence, and they were safe and sound. Puff puff puff. The sound of a drum being pierced rang out. The corpse worms entered the powerhouses' bodies. Ah! The powerhouses let out terrified cries. They were in extreme pain. The crowd could see several worms crawling under the skin of the powerhouses. It was terrifying. Pang pang pang. In just a moment, many old monsters fell from the sky. After landing on the ground, their bodies constantly twitched, as if they were suffering inhumane torture before dying. It was too terrifying. These old monsters were late World King Realm Masters, but in front of the Hell Worms, they were nothing more than ants. They died just like that. It had to be known that if these old monsters were placed in the myriad worlds, each one of them would be an overlord. Dead, they're all dead. Moreover, more and more 8 hell corpse worms are crawling out. Many people took a step back, their faces filled with fear. Some of them were sect masters, and some were ancient martial artists that had been famous for tens of thousands of years. But at this moment, their bodies were trembling. Ah! Old Monster Lone Mountain also cried out in grief. He pulled out his arms but still couldn't find the worms in his body. Finally, his resistance weakened and he fell to the ground, motionless. His eyes stared at the skies before finally falling onto the window of the ancient pagoda. There, a youth stood there like a king. His handsome face was calm even if the heavens were to collapse. His eyes were cold and merciless, cold enough to penetrate one's soul. It's Lin Ling. Old Monster Lone Mountain shouted out his last words. He had once said to Lin Ling that he absolutely could not fall into his hands. Otherwise, he would make Lin Ling suffer a fate worse than death. And at that time, Lin Ling had also said that he, Old Monster Lone Mountain, did not want to fall into Lin Ling's hands. And now, he had indeed fallen into Lin Ling's hands. An early World King Realm Jr. was someone that Old Monster Lone Mountain had killed countless times. But today, he had been turned around by an early World King Jr. The weak had defeated the strong. Was it Lin Ling who brought them here? That fellow is too terrifying. All of the martial artists in the ancient pagoda were looking at Lin Ling. In their eyes, the youth's long hair wildly danced in the wind. Astral winds howled around him, blowing against his blue robes. But the youth's eyes were cold and filled with mockery. So what if he was at the late World King realm? He was going to die all the same. This fellow. The Ray Sandthorn and the Sun Bone wished they could tear apart Lin Ling, but that was only in their thoughts. They clearly couldn't do so right now. The only thing they could do was run away. They even had to look up at Lin Ling. And they were the 9 heavens of Azure Province. But, as they saw Lin Ling, they had to run away. This was undoubtedly the greatest irony of all. Chi chi chi. At this time, the great desert was in complete chaos. A massive number of worms crawled out, choosing people to swallow, exhausting all of them. Chapter 23:44. Every man for himself and the devil takes the hindmost. These corpse bugs are like his anger. In the distance, the old man in green retreated quickly. At this moment, he was looking ahead in shock. That was the fury of hell, Lin Ling's anger. Previously, Lin Ling fought against several experts and was suppressed by many old monsters. Now, Lin Ling counterattacked, and his counterattack was extremely crazy. Chi chi chi. At this moment, the ground began to wriggle. Looking carefully, it looked like sand was rolling, but in reality, it was countless corpse bugs crawling. It was hard to imagine that if one fell into those bugs, their bones would not be found. Many warriors died, and even more warriors left the ancient pagoda ruins. At this moment, only Lin Ling remained. This caused thousands of eyes to stare at Lin Ling from afar. Their eyes were filled with anger, jealousy, and unwillingness. No matter what kind of old monster it was, when they met Lin Ling, they had to retreat. Lin Ling had clearly become an existence that no one dared to approach. It was as if he came from hell. All of you, scram. On top of the ancient pagoda, Lin Ling looked ahead indifferently and coldly spat out a sentence. In the distance, countless experts found it difficult to refute. They could only gnash their teeth in anger. This. At this moment, Little Peach and the rest had walked up to the 6th floor. Because the stone sculpture no longer required them to continue activating their realm essence, they stared at the scene in front of them in shock. They did not expect that after Lin Ling activated the Tushi Tower, its power would be so strong. Those old monsters should be regretting provoking Lin Ling. So powerful. Shi Wenbo said in fear. Lin Ling smiled and nodded, they only have themselves to blame. No matter what, with our strength, we can make those old monsters retreat. This is already a miracle. Little Peach immediately said. She looked at the ancient pagoda and said, this ancient pagoda is really mysterious. When those old monsters attacked the ancient pagoda did not move at all. Lin Ling explained, this is called the Tushi Tower. Once the taboo is activated, you can only come out from the inside. You can't come in from the outside. No attacks can affect the tower. His eyes were also looking at the compass. Gradually, a smile appeared on his face. This was because the spacetime divine steel had started to rise from the ground. With the 8 hell corpse worm under the tower, no one could stop him from obtaining the time and space divine steel. Those greedy old monsters could only watch from afar. Rumble. At this moment, the earth trembled. The surface of the ground was opened up, and a pillar of light shot into the sky, burning a large number of corpse bugs. The fire of time. This was the true fire of time. The treasure has finally been unearthed. The old monsters in the distance licked their lips, but when they thought about how they couldn't get close to that place, they flew into a rage out of humiliation. Rumble. As time passed, more and more pillars of light shot up into the sky. From afar, it was extremely dazzling. However, what was shocking was that no matter how the ancient tower changed, no matter how many ancient towers fell, the Tushi Tower remained unmoved. This Tushi Tower was indeed extraordinary. Almost at the same time, Lin Ling's hands formed a complicated barrier, forming a hexagonal ancient barrier. In front of him, a strand of multicolored flames was attracted over and gradually floated above the barrier. He obtained that mysterious flame. Lin Ling, I'm going to die from anger. In the distance, the crowd was in an uproar. They were very jealous. Lin Ling carefully withdrew the barrier, only to see that the flame was still floating above the ancient barrier. Then, he looked at Shi Wenbo and said with a smile, rely on your parents at home, and rely on your friends outside. Because your words have moved me, this flame is yours. The fire of time and space. Hearing that, Shi Wenbo excitedly muttered to himself. His hands and feet were at a loss. He didn't expect Lin Ling to actually succeed. Lin Ling didn't say much. He inserted the spacetime flame into Shi Wenbo's body. To him, this was as easy as lifting a finger. After all, the spacetime flame was not the spacetime divine steel. One was the servant, and the other was the master. In fact, if Lin Ling obtained the spacetime divine steel, he could make many people give birth to the spacetime flame and make him their king. However, Shi Wenbo didn't know that. He thought that he was the only one who possessed the spacetime flame. However, the process of refining the flame was not easy. Shi Wenbo had almost died. Fortunately, Lin Ling's ancient barrier was sharp, allowing him to succeed in the end. Sensing the flame in his body, Shi Wenbo's spirit was greatly roused. He couldn't help but roar. Congratulations, Senior Shi Wenbo. Little Peach and the others immediately smiled. This made Shi Wenbo feel as if he had broken out of his cocoon and become a butterfly. He had spent so much effort and finally obtained results. Then, he looked at Lin Ling. His heart was filled with excitement as he kowtowed to Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling didn't have time to pay attention to him. He was still paying attention to the ground. That was because more and more light pillars rushed out from the ground. This meant that the spacetime divine steel was getting closer and closer. At that moment, he couldn't help but become nervous. As for Shi Wenbo beside him, he was very excited at first. However, when he saw that Lin Ling was not moving, he sensed that Lin Ling also wanted the spacetime flame. However, only one person could possess the spacetime flame. A mountain couldn't hide two tigers. Shi Wenbo became conflicted in his heart. That was because Lin Ling had helped him before. Lin Ling was the first person he had treated as a friend after coming to the martial god realm. He sensed that Lin Ling had also slowly become stronger from a weak point. That was why he felt a sense of resonance when he saw them. However, if Lin Ling could help him obtain the spacetime flame, then he could definitely obtain it himself. Moreover, Lin Ling also had the strength to take back the spacetime flame. Every man for himself and the devil takes the hindmost. Lin Ling, I'm sorry. Roar. Shi Wenbo roared in his heart. At that moment, Lin Ling was still looking outside the pagoda. The desert outside the pagoda had disappeared and turned into a lava zone. The 8 hell corpse worms had all been burned to ashes. The expressions of the people in the distance changed drastically. Those flames were even more terrifying than the corpse worms. I'm sorry. At that moment, Shi Wenbo roared. His eyes were red as he pushed with both hands. Lin Ling didn't expect Shi Wenbo to attack him. He was standing by the window and paying attention to the ground. That was why he was pushed out of the ancient pagoda without warning. After the ancient pagoda's restriction was activated, one could only leave and not enter. Shi Wenbo obviously knew this, so he attacked. This was also his only chance to kill Lin Ling. Senior brother Shi Wenbo, you. Little Peach and the others reacted and looked at Shi Wenbo in shock. Shi Wenbo's face became ferocious. The clean eyes of the past had disappeared, and only ambition was left. He had brought Chunjun to the martial god realm to achieve great things. However, he had seen the fickleness of human nature. He could only be cannon fodder, so he knew that he had to become stronger. Every man for himself. Shi Wenbo heavily spat out these words and then kowtowed towards the window. Lin Ling, you are my benefactor. I will never forget you in this life. He seemed to want to use these words to comfort himself so that he wouldn't feel guilty. At this moment, Lin Ling was smashed into the lava outside the pagoda. His eyes were extremely cold. In fact, helping Shi Wenbo was as easy as lifting a finger. The reason why he helped Shi Wenbo was because of Shi Wenbo's words. Rely on your parents at home and rely on your friends outside. These words were very sincere. However, although Lin Ling helped Shi Wenbo, it didn't mean that he was a fool. Chapter 23:45. You're not a tiger. Therefore, he helped Shi Wenbo because even if Shi Wenbo wanted to harm him, Lin Ling was not afraid. However, Lin Ling did not expect that Shi Wenbo would actually harm him. You will regret this. Lin Ling smiled, and his smile became cruel. One thought to heaven, one thought to hell. Becoming a brother and a friend was a heavenly treatment. But becoming an enemy was hell. Lin Ling, you can't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being so strong. You and I are both from myriad worlds. Why can you make those seniors pay attention to you while I'm just a trash? Shi Wenbo threw caution to the wind and roared, let me tell you, I also killed Lu Yi. Boom! As soon as he said that, Lin Ling's eyes turned red. Lu Yi wanted to take advantage of Lin Ling in the past, but he was interrupted by Shi Wenbo. After that, Lin Ling saw Lu Yi die in the desert. It turned out that Lu Yi was killed by Shi Wenbo. Shi Wenbo was very shrewd. He gave people the impression that he was kind and willing to help others. In fact, he only wanted to call on those guides. Lin Ling, you can only blame yourself for being blind. You misjudged me, but you are my benefactor. I, Shi Wenbo, will remember you for the rest of my life. In the future, I will personally set up a memorial tablet for you and kowtow every day to apologize for my sins. Shi Wenbo stood up, and his aura quietly turned into the aura of a fierce and ambitious person. He had endured humiliation and finally, today, he had accumulated enough strength. Not bad at all. Compared to those experts like old monster Lone Mountain, you are clearly more terrifying. Lin Ling still smashed towards the ground, and his eyes revealed the domineering aura of a fierce and ambitious person. The two kings, one in the sky and one on the ground, collided with each other's gazes. Shi Wenbo was not strong, but he was ambitious and could endure humiliation. This was more terrifying than many talented geniuses. He was indeed a fierce and ambitious person. Shi Wenbo immediately laughed, a mountain can't hide two tigers. Lin Ling, only I, Shi Wenbo, can obtain the time fire. You just obtained the time fire, and you think you are a tiger? You don't have the qualifications to be a tiger in front of me. Just you wait, I will come for you. Lin Ling was too lazy to explain anything and allowed himself to smash into the lava. On the other hand, Shi Wenbo's heart trembled. He was a little afraid because this mysterious young man, Lin Ling, had sharp means and was mysterious and unfathomable. He was able to play around with the old monster. However, when he saw Lin Ling disappear into the lava, he laughed. Lin Ling was definitely going to die. Brother Shi Wenbo, you are repaying kindness with enmity. Little Peach and the others stared at Shi Wenbo with bloodshot eyes. They never thought that Shi Wenbo would be so ugly. All of you will understand in the future. Shi Wenbo shook his head, and his aura became a notch higher. He said indifferently, for Lin Ling's sake, I won't kill you. Shameless. Little Peach and the others scolded. However, they could not do anything about Shi Wenbo's strength. However, Shi Wenbo did not know that Lin Ling did not guard against him. The main reason why he fell from the ancient tower was because of the appearance of the time and space divine steel. Lin Ling did not want to miss the time and space divine steel, so he did not attack. I didn't expect that Lin Ling would be killed by the people around him after playing with us old monsters. What a pity. That Lu Yin is shameless. As the saying goes, a drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring. He is afraid that Lin Ling is stronger than him, so he attacked Lin Ling. A mountain can't hide two tigers. Is he qualified to be compared to Lin Ling? The people in the distance frowned. Lin Ling was strong, but Shi Wenbo could only rely on shameless means. The two were not on the same level. Trash. Xian Ji and the others stared at the ancient tower angrily. Rumble. At this moment, the ancient tower had turned into a sea of fire. The desert was like an island floating on top of the lava. As for the power of the flames, even true Immortal Realm experts did not dare to get close to it. What happened here? Could it be the space-time flame? Unfortunately, we are too late. At this time, whistling sounds could be heard. Dozens of figures appeared in the sky above the desert. They looked at the lava in front of them with serious expressions. These people were all true Immortal Realm experts. Among them were the 3 leaders and many unknown experts. The 10 great sword immortals of Qingzhou? That's the chess ancestor. Some of the old monsters who had been in the martial god realm all year round recognized these unfamiliar experts. They did not expect these experts to come as well. It seemed like they had been following them secretly. The space-time flame? I heard that the place with the flame will have that thing. A man with a bamboo sword on his back said with a frown. He obviously knew more than the others. As soon as he finished speaking, the other top experts' expressions changed. Could it be the space-time divine steel? They stared at the lava as if they were looking for a needle in a haystack. They wanted to find the space-time divine steel, but they were disappointed. They did not see the space-time divine steel. Damn it, we should have come earlier. Sunset Brilliance, one of the 3 leaders, said regretfully. His aged face was full of regret. The space-time divine steel has disappeared. I'm afraid it has been obtained by someone. After saying that, he looked at the old monsters around him with a suspicious expression. Based on his guess, ordinary people could not obtain the space-time divine steel unless they were true Immortal Realm experts. Therefore, the space-time divine steel might have been obtained by these people around him. And if they had obtained the space-time divine steel, no one would reveal it. Naturally, they would be putting on an act. Sunset Brilliance, what are you looking at? If I had obtained that treasure, would I hide it from you? The old man called Chess Ancestor reprimanded. If Lin Ling's chess boy was here, he would definitely respectfully call him master. Hee, that's hard to say. Another voice sounded. It was one of the 3 leaders, An Yi. They each had their own ulterior motives. They all suspected that someone in this group had obtained the space-time divine steel. As for the people below, the possibility was not high because those people were not strong enough to obtain the space-time divine steel. The desert is starting to flood back. At this moment, another person spoke. The lava began to flow backward, and the sand gradually drowned the lava. Sigh, we're late. We're late. The old monsters sighed. They had clearly missed the space-time divine steel. What happened earlier? Can anyone tell me? Battle Emperor Ling Ying, one of the 3 leaders, pointed at the crowd below, causing 3 people to explode and die. Then, someone immediately said, Senior Battle Emperor Ling Ying, Lin Ling appeared earlier. That person recounted what had happened earlier. Someone obtained the space-time fire? The old monster's eyes flickered, but they clearly did not care much. Although the space-time fire was also very precious, it could not be compared to the space-time divine steel. Of course, only they knew this. Everyone else thought that the treasure here was the space-time fire. This kid called Lin Ling is really amazing. He actually activated the 2 Shi Towers taboo and summoned the space-time divine steel. Unfortunately, with his strength, he couldn't obtain it at all. In the end, he could only die with hatred. An ingrate has appeared by his side. Chapter 2346. The underground battle. Of course, if they knew that not only was Lin Ling not dead, but he had even jumped into the lava on purpose, who knew what they would think? If they knew that the spacetime divine steel had been taken by Lin Ling, they would be even more shocked. Sigh, I didn't expect to come here for nothing. Let's go. Then, the top old monsters left with regretful looks on their faces. The crowd also gradually dispersed. They were also extremely depressed. Because they had returned empty-handed. Not bad, you did well. After leaving here, you can go to my only me commandery. After Shi Wenbo and the rest walked down from the ancient pagoda, the Luo Sha Thorn looked over and praised them. Shi Wenbo walked forward step by step. He was delighted and excited. In the past, the sand spike did not even bother to remember his face. But now, the sand spike actually took the initiative to talk to him. This meant that he had been recognized. This was the benefit of increasing one's strength. Now that you have obtained the spacetime fire, your future will be bright. If you have nowhere else to go, you can come to my Grand Court Commandery. Sun Bone also invited Shi Wenbo. He was very satisfied with Shi Wenbo's talent. Thank you, my lords. Shi Wenbo hurriedly bowed. He knew that he had done the right thing by harming Lin Ling. Only by killing Lin Ling could he soar. Unfortunately, he did not know that his actions had consigned him to eternal damnation. Despicable person. The green-robed elder looked at Shi Wenbo with cold eyes. However, the two heavenly talents of Qingzhou had spoken, so he knew that he could not kill Shi Wenbo. At this moment, the lava was rolling like a fire dragon underground. A figure was slowly moving along the lava. A large number of enchantments appeared around his body, blocking the scorching flames. He had his hands behind his back. His blue robe fluttered in the wind. His pace was neither fast nor slow. He was like a fire god moving forward. He was Lin Ling. Everyone thought that Lin Ling had fallen into the lava because he had been framed. However, they did not know that even if Shi Wenbo had not done anything, Lin Ling would still have moved forward. On the contrary, through Shi Wenbo's actions, Lin Ling could be considered to have seen through a person. If Shi Wenbo knew that Lin Ling was still alive, he would definitely regret it to death. Because, not only did he not kill Lin Ling, but he also caused Lin Ling's hatred towards him to reach the peak. And for Lin Ling to hate someone so much, anyone who knew Lin Ling knew that this person was definitely going to die. The barrier around us is about to disappear. We have to find the spacetime divine steel as soon as possible. Lin Ling muttered to himself. Tens of millions of lava rivers began to converge. Gradually, a mysterious ancient tablet floated in the middle of the multicolored lava, emitting an ancient mottled aura. Around the ancient monolith, primal chaos was circulating. It was extremely mysterious. However, an old man in a kasaya was sitting in front of the stone tablet. When Lin Ling approached, he finally opened his eyes. I was wondering who could find the spacetime divine steel so quickly. So it's you. The old man said indifferently. He seemed to have been here for a long time, so he knew that it would be extremely difficult for others to find the spacetime divine steel unless it was that person. And that person was none other than Li Xiaoyao. You're not dead yet. Looks like you almost got the spacetime divine steel. Unfortunately, you failed in the end and your soul is trapped here forever. Lin Ling continued to walk forward and said indifferently, your corpse is still in the Tushi Tower, but I didn't clean it up for you. This person was the corpse in the Tushi Tower. Obviously, he did not have Lin Ling's methods and was trapped in the Tushi Tower. Therefore, he could only abandon his physical body and enter the underground to find the spacetime divine steel. However, he had failed again. He did not obtain the spacetime divine steel, but instead became its guardian soul. I know that you're the one who left this steel. You can definitely obtain it easily. However, before that, I will stop you," the old man said solemnly as he stood up. "Then come at me. If you defeat me, you'll obtain the method to open the spacetime divine steel. However, you may not be able to defeat me. You couldn't in the past, and you can't today." Lin Ling slowly pulled out the Tyrant Song sword. "Actually, you know that you have no hope of obtaining the spacetime divine steel." "I know, I definitely know. However, I will stop you. I lost to Li Xiaoyao in the past, but I will defeat you today," the old man said excitedly. Even if Lin Ling taught him the method, it would be very difficult for him to obtain the spacetime divine steel because he was just a soul. "Come and fight." A ray of blue light appeared, and the old man's kasaya disappeared. He also started to change silently and gradually turned into a handsome young man. He wore a long blue robe and held an ancient sword in his hand. His chiseled face was as calm as an ancient well. It was Lin Ling. He had turned into Lin Ling. Scarlet cover Buddhist mantra. Lin Ling's expression changed slightly. He did not expect the old man to use this Buddhist technique. This Buddhist technique was very powerful. It could mimic everything that others did, and any move could be learned in an instant. It was extremely powerful. In fact, if the old man used all his soul power to fight Lin Ling might not be his match. However, the old man was too familiar with Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling's cultivation level was not high, his methods were beyond imagination. Therefore, the old man decided to go all in and mimic Lin Ling. The advantage of this was that he knew everything that Lin Ling knew, and he was even more skilled. "Let me see how much you've improved over the years." Lin Ling drew his sword. His sword seemed to have accumulated a lot of strength as it slashed out fiercely. Dragon Chi was released from the Tyrant Song sword. The godly demon body also descended. 10 years of polishing a sword. Black sword record? I know it too. The old man in the form of a young man also swung his sword. Clang! The two swords collided, and a deafening sound drifted out. The two of them were evenly matched. Finishing touch. Lin Ling's Tyrant Song sword shook heavily and shook off his opponent's sword. His sword turned into a stab, like a dragon soaring into the sky. I know it too. The old man sneered. It was the same confident smile as Lin Ling. The sword in his hand shook, and he quickly drew his sword. Clang! The tip of the sword clashed with the tip of the sword, and sparks flew everywhere. Then, the two figures clashed violently in the lava, as if two super-powerful swordsmen were clashing. Dodging domain. Lin Ling used his ultimate techniques one by one, but his opponent imitated them instantly. The moves were the same as his, and they were extremely difficult to deal with. Most importantly, the barrier around Lin Ling's body was getting dimmer and dimmer. Without the barrier, Lin Ling would very likely be swallowed by the lava. Therefore, time was of the essence. Hee hee. The young man opposite Lin Ling laughed sinisterly. He knew that Lin Ling must be very flustered at this moment. However, when he raised his head to look at Lin Ling, he found that Lin Ling's expression was still unchanged. His indifferent look was very similar to Li Xiaoyao's. The former ghost genius Li Xiaoyao had experienced countless life and death situations. In the face of this predicament, he would not panic at all. Sword Mountain and Sword Tree. At this moment, a giant sword slashed out. Lin Ling had once again unleashed a powerful move. At this moment, he had also activated the ultimate sword Dao. Chapter 2347. Break Invincible. Amazing. As expected of Li Xiaoyao. The other party sneered and instantly imitated Lin Ling's ultimate technique. He also swung out a huge sword pillar. What was even more frightening was that not only was he able to imitate Lin Ling's soul force, he was even able to imitate his physical strength. I don't believe that you don't have any flaws. After his sword failed, Lin Ling coldly spat out a sentence. His sword was like a swimming dragon, dancing in the sea of lava. I really don't have any flaws. If you don't believe me, use your 10,000 mammoths' demonic eyes. The other party revealed an evil smile and was extremely confident. However, after Lin Ling utilized the myriad devil eyes, he was indeed unable to see his opponent's weakness. The only weakness was that so long as he defeated his opponent would be annihilated. One had to know that the 10,000 mammoths' magic eyes could see through the enemy's moves and martial arts, but at this moment, his opponent was imitating Lin Ling's moves and martial arts. This meant that Lin Ling was trying to find his own flaws. As for Lin Ling, since he was able to cultivate the Omega Sword Dao, he would naturally choose the best martial arts method. Even if there were flaws, they would be negligible. Thus, it would be very difficult to find any flaws. Again, Yellow Spring's Flame, 6 Paths of Reincarnation. Lin Ling had even used a law martial technique, but his opponent knew it too. It was terrifying. As a result, Lin Ling's expression became more and more serious. He didn't have much time left. So your Dharma isn't invincible. It has a flaw. Lin Ling said indifferently after exchanging several hundred blows. I knew that you would see through the flaw sooner or later. That's right, the flaw of my Dharma is the process of imitating you. There is a slight delay in speed. His opponent laughed coldly. It was impossible for him to imitate Lin Ling's moves in an instant. For example, if Lin Ling used a sword move, he would need time to imitate it, and that time was subtle breath. A breath was 1,000th of a breath of time. It was fast, faster than the blink of an eye. Therefore, even if Lin Ling knew his flaws, it was useless. I will find your flaws again. Lin Ling did not have the slightest intention of giving up. He displayed all the martial arts he had learned in his life. The accumulation of these martial arts was extremely terrifying because it included Li Xiaoyao's martial arts. Me too. However, the other party had managed to learn it in an instant. Even though he was slower by a few breaths, it didn't affect him at all. He and Lin Ling were only tied, but if the battle dragged on, Lin Ling would be burned to death by the surrounding lava. Boom! After an unknown period of time, Lin Ling's body erupted with a terrifying aura. In this crazy battle, he broke through. At the second stage of the World King realm, one had the strength of 2 worlds within their body. Boom! However, just as Lin Ling broke through, the evil youth also erupted with a terrifying aura. He had also broken through. Invincible. This was true invincibility. Even Lin Ling's expression changed slightly. This guy's imitation was too freakish. Li Xiaoyao, you don't have much time left. The other party lifted his sword, faintly looking at Lin Ling. His confident smile became even thicker. Lin Ling began to ponder. The martial arts he knew, the other party knew as well. The other party knew all of his methods. The only flaw was that there was only a few breaths of time. That's right. Lin Ling's pupils brightened. Let's have a life or death battle. Burn your world essence. Bang! At this time, the world essence of a second stage World King was completely combusted. This caused the other party to be stunned. This was because combusting one's world essence was a desperate move. This meant that Lin Ling was going all out. Of course, this was also normal. Because if Lin Ling didn't go all out, he would definitely be burned to death by the lava. Do you think you are the only one who can burn your world essence? The other party darkly smiled. He also burned his world essence, causing his strength to crazily rise. At this time, both of them had the strength to fight a third stage World King. They could even kill someone at that level. They were true monstrous geniuses. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The battle beneath the lava became even more intense. As time passed, the auras of the two people began to dim. This was because combusting one's world essence was also a method of suicide. The longer one burned their world essence, the more likely they were to die. Li Xiaoyao, to have you accompany me in death, my life has been worth it. The evil youth was also very weak, but he was also very excited. He had done it and prevented Li Xiaoyao from obtaining the time and space divine tablet. Blade Mountain Sword Tree. Facing this youth's ridicule, Lin Ling didn't say a word. He forcefully combusted all of his world essence and used his most terrifying sword strike. Seeing this, the other party naturally imitated Lin Ling and erupted with a desperate strike. The evil youth even knew that after Lin Ling's sword strike, he would die. This was because all of his world essence would be burned away. I am you and you are me. If you die, I die too, haha. The evil youth savagely laughed. His sword was like a pillar, wildly colliding with Lin Ling's sword strike. Rumble, rumble, rumble. At this moment, the lava was finally stirred up into a whirlpool. It was terrifying. After all, this was the time and space fire that even true immortals didn't dare to approach. At this moment, Lin Ling's pupils constricted. He sensed that the world essence in his body was about to be burned away. He finally sneered, I am me and you are you. If you die, I won't die. Die. At this critical moment, he forcefully extinguished the burning world essence and withdrew all of his power. Because if he continued to burn, he would undoubtedly die. The evil youth was stunned. Lin Ling wasn't planning to commit suicide. He hurriedly withdrew all of his world essence. However, he forgot that he was a bit slower when imitating Lin Ling. This short period of time was a fatal wound. Because he was too slow. And also because Lin Ling extinguished his world essence at the most crucial moment. When it was his turn, he could no longer suppress the burning speed of his world essence. Rumble. His world essence was completely burned away. His entire body turned gray. He stood there foolishly holding his sword, as if he couldn't believe everything before his eyes. His dharma came from a senior monk in the martial god Crimson Province. That expert was even stronger than Li Xiaoyao in the past. This caused his dharma to be boundless, absolutely invincible. But now, this invincibility was broken. Li Xiaoyao was Li Xiaoyao indeed. This ability to remain fearless in the face of danger was unparalleled. Cough cough. Lin Ling coughed up blood. Moreover, he quickly walked toward the ancient monument in front of him. When he passed by the old man, he said indifferently, "You have lost again. I accept my defeat wholeheartedly. You are Lin Ling, right? From today onwards, Li Xiaoyao has returned." The old man began to return to his original appearance. He revealed a bitter smile. His body shattered like paper. Seeing this, Lin Ling revealed a proud smile. That old man was a bone lantern. In the past, he was extremely famous in the martial god realm. Later on, he lost to Li Xiaoyao. Today, he defeated him again. This meant that he, Li Xiaoyao, had returned. Pa! When the barrier around his body was about to disappear, Lin Ling's hand finally touched the ancient monument. Rumble. The lava shook as if heaven and earth were collapsing. A multicolored light shot toward Lin Ling's right eye, causing him to completely faint. Almost at the same time, his body was crazily burned and finally disappeared without a trace. Chapter 2348. 2 danshans after an unknown amount of time, the lava gradually extinguished, turning into a solid rock river that lay under the mountains of the martial god realm. In the river, a slender figure lay there. His skin was glossy, and if one looked carefully, the blood vessels under his skin seemed to be flowing like lava. After being refined by the flame of time and space, Lin Ling's god-demon body improved again, reaching 5,000 universe power. Time quietly passed, and the rock river was very quiet. Small beasts walked by and looked at the youth lying on the ground. They all quietly approached because the youth gave them a very comfortable feeling. Warm sunlight slowly sprinkled down at this moment, bathing all things under a thin veil. The young man above the river of rocks had his long hair draped down, and he had the lazy aura of a king. On his handsome face, his slender eyelashes moved slightly under the sunlight. Oh! Lin Ling opened his eyes. His left eye had a large number of Dao seals, and his right eye had a mysterious ancient tablet. Of course, the strangeness of his eyes quickly disappeared. The space-time divine tablet has completely returned. Lin Ling revealed a gratified smile. My left eye is one of the 6 great god eyes, and my right eye is one of the 9 great flames. My talent has reached the peak. Primal Chaos Divine Formula. Then, Lin Ling shouted, and the 3 cultivation of essence, energy, and spirit in his body turned into a mysterious power that crazily rotated. His physical strength had reached a new level, and so had his soul power. His flame talent had returned, and his 3 domains had all stepped into the ranks of a new world. Boom boom boom. Lin Ling's body rumbled, and a new dantian was opened up. This dantian was weak at first, but it gradually grew until it became a boundary spirit dantian. In this way, Lin Ling had 2 dantians. As everyone knew, the dantian was the source of power. Any martial arts and world essence came from there, but a martial artist only had 1 dantian. This was the law of heaven and earth. However, Lin Ling had 2 dantians, and this was the abnormal part of the primal chaos divine formula. What did it mean to have 2 dantians? This meant that if Lin Ling fought a second-stage world king, he would be able to easily kill his opponent. If one dantian's world essence was exhausted, he could use a second one. Moreover, if 2 dantians' world essences fused together, his strength would reach a terrifying limit. To fight a 4th-level world king wasn't difficult at all. In fact, if he burned his world essence, that would be terrifying. The first stage of the primal chaos divine formula is complete. After a long time, Lin Ling smiled. His strength had greatly increased. However, he used the second dantian to hide the flame of time and space. That dantian was also a flame dantian, also known as the flame world. As for his first dantian, he used it to cultivate his Omega Sword Dao. After that, Lin Ling changed into clean clothes, stroked the little beasts around him, and strode away. Shi Wenba, can't a mountain hide 2 tigers? In my eyes, you're really not a tiger. At this moment, he was once again like a proud and aloof swordsman as he embarked on his journey. Clouds swirled around the green mountain, a gentle wind blew, a waterfall broke free, cold and clear. The ancient green mountain moved like ink. Clouds and mist drifted in the sky. From time to time, martial artists would pass through the skies or walk along the green mountain. This place wasn't too far from the great swamp of the 8 gods' heavenly palace. Thus, these people had heard the news and also wanted to enter the 8 gods' heavenly palace. But, they were clearly too late. What? The 8 gods' heavenly palace is closed? Yes, everyone that entered the 8 gods' heavenly palace came out. They can't enter the next level. Then we didn't come here in vain. In the immortal land of ink and green mountains, many martial artists were sighing, extremely regretful. It is said that in the 2nd level of earth travel, many people obtained good harvests. The 3 great leaders were also the same. But, the most precious treasure seems to have been missed. It is said that someone obtained the time fire. TSK, what kind of treasure is that? But if it can appear in the 8 gods' heavenly palace, that strange flame must be extraordinary. But if we have to talk about who is the most fierce in the 8 gods' heavenly palace, it is without a doubt Lin Ling of the Martial God Battalion. Who is Lin Ling? Could he be a new rising genius? How does he compare to the 9 heavens of the Qing province? This person has just risen, so of course he cannot compare to the 9 heavens. But this person played with a group of old monsters. It is said that many experts died in his hands, including old monster Lone Mountain. What a powerful junior. In the mountain range, many martial artists were chatting as they walked. They had missed the 8 gods' heavenly palace, but they were extremely curious about what happened there. At this moment, Lin Ling was slowly walking on the ancient mountain path. He also heard the voices in the distance. It seems like it is as I guessed. Those people did not enter the 3rd level. They should have all left by now. Lin Ling said with a smile. Even Li Xiaoyao was stopped at the 2nd level. Naturally, no one else could enter the 3rd level. Quickly find Shi Wenba, then return to the Martial God Battalion. Lin Ling continued walking, his soul force gushing out like water. He wanted to find Shi Wenba. He had to kill this person, not only for himself, but also for Lu Yi, who had died tragically. It's them? Then, Lin Ling could not help but smile. At this moment, on the other side of the mountain, several figures were walking along the mountain path. They were Little Peach and the others. I didn't expect Shi Wenba to be such a person. We were all wrong about him. Unfortunately, Lin Ling is dead. Otherwise, Lin Ling would not have let Shi Wenba go. The current Shi Wenba disdains to associate with us. Little Peach and the others spoke as they walked. In fact, they had left the 8 gods' heavenly palace for 3 months. In the beginning, they still followed Shi Wenba, but gradually, they found that Shi Wenba did not care about them at all. He was even more aloof in front of them. Therefore, they chose to leave in the end. They and Shi Wenba were people of 2 different worlds. The current Shi Wenba was no longer the past guide. There were many people who wanted to recruit him. As for them, they were still lowly guides. Leaving without saying goodbye, isn't that a bit too immoral? But at this time, 3 figures walked out from the dense forest in front of them. 2 were middle-aged men and 1 was an old man. Their strength was at the 1st level of the World King realm. It's you, Senior Jian Bingyi. Little Peach and the others stopped, their complexions changing. They recognized these 3 people because during this time, they had followed Shi Wenba to a city called a 9-Dragon City. Shi Wenba was highly valued in the city, and the city lord had even betrothed his daughter to Shi Wenba. And that old man Jian Bingyi was the city lord's subordinate. What do you want to do? Sensing that these 3 people had ill intentions, Little Peach and the others were on guard. You left without saying goodbye, that is not placing 9-Dragon City in your eyes. So, what do you think we want to do? The old man lightly said, you're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.